What is going on, All Terrain Nation? Whether it be two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or this guy next to me that I see on drives from time to time, this is your All Terrain Nation. I'm your host, David Wood, alongside Mr.
Tim from Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. It's not a and, by the way, it's a plus. I'm not sure how that.
Sorry,
I thought it was kind of I'm looking for something at the moment, but we are digging into some fascinating topics today. Just
It's a winter wonderland in both of our areas. So what do we got to do is just look up things and answer your questions. So I hope everybody is having an amazing Saturday. Here in Middle Tennessee, we are kind of thawing out from a week's long worth of snow. I do tell my audience occasionally we do get snow. Our roads are not necessarily built. Our infrastructure is not necessarily built to handle. We got 7 inches of snow, which doesn't sound too bad, except for then it rained and then it turned to ice. And well, now my driveway is a frozen ice. But first off, so Tim, I want to get into this just a little bit. It's an SUV thing, but every time we get a big snow like this, me and Kelly take our Ford Bronco out and we flip the top back. We just go have fun and be silly and stupid. And this year, my daughter, she thought, "Oh, I want to go," and I was like, "Okay, you can go with us." And I said, "You better dress warm," because I said, "You're in the back. I have heated seats. You're in the back of the Bronco with nothing. Sorry, we got a blanket for you. That's about it." And okay, I want to go. Well, we'll start our little live video that we like to do, and people like it because we're just being silly. But we start this, and suddenly my daughter goes, "Hey, Dad, I dropped my AirPod." And I was like, for one, why do you have an AirPod on? Two, it's in the white snow. So I got a white AirPod in the white snow. And I said, "Where'd you drop it?" She goes, "Somewhere around here." And I'm like, "Oh my God, man." So I'm on a live stream and I'll tell everybody, I'll be right back. Like finally I had to end the live stream because it was like, this is getting to be a nightmare. So luckily Apple has that like find me thing where you can kind of get close to it. So what I did was I took a big snow shovel I have and I would scoop snow and I'd move it over somewhere. And I said, "Did it move?" "Nope." "All right, let's just." So an hour later, basically, we find the little deal. But what a nightmare, man. Something I guess you guys would that deal with snow all the time. Like maybe they need a not white version of these for you guys to deal with snow.
or maybe you just don't drop them outside. Yeah, we've had a nasty week. Last week was negative temperature overnight highs. I mean, overnight lows was negative temperatures. Negative with the wind chill one day was negative 31. I mean, it's just been brutal. And it's supposed to be
negative 2 till last night.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 40s and 50s. Supposed to be like almost 50 on Saturday. I'm thinking about golf next week, but may not be here doing this because I may be in the golf course. But because we tend to play, my goal is to play every month, and it's possible this next Saturday. So, but yeah,
you need to invest in a simulator is what I think you need to invest in.
Dude, those things are like $15,000.
I'm sure there's somebody that somehow there's a connection to the auto industry. Come on, somebody help this guy out.
No, I mean we've had snow. It's finally starting to melt. My only bitch about the snow is my neighbor doesn't clear his sidewalk, and he's just.
What do you like to run on your neighbor's sidewalk?
Well, he moved down from Alliance. He doesn't clean up his driveway. He doesn't really take care of his yard, and his wife does all the mowing, which I mean, okay. My wife likes to mow too, but still, come on, dude.
Tim, we're in a modern world, buddy. Come on now.
I know, but still, like somebody's got a shovel, and I'm like, it just looks like crap, and that's my problem. Like, if as long as you clear the driveway and clear sidewalks, it looks like it's doable. And then we had a snowplow truck come through, which is really rare for my neighborhood. But yeah, it's interesting. Although I will say, I had the Mazda CX-90, yes, with the all-season tires. And I don't do much with tires. I know it's blasphemy. I know people are always like tires and tires and tires.
Well, you know the car connects through the road through the tires, right?
Right, but I don't really pay too much attention to tires very often because it doesn't really come up, right? I'll show them on camera, but I'm not talking about different brands. I just don't geek out about tires. But I had to park that SUV for a couple of days because I was too nervous to drive it. Mm-hmm. It was like sliding around in ice. And then this is interesting topic. I texted the fleet manager who came to pick it up, and he was sending up his lackey, who's like this 30-year-old guy who has no direction in life, anyways. So he picked it up. And I said, be careful of these tires. These tires are very much like a concern. And he texts back and goes, yeah, it'd be nice if a stock OEM vehicle come with some good tires. And he delivers this Grand Highlander that I have right now, and I've had no problems.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I've heard from other people too that all new vehicles have terrible tires. They're terrible tires. They're all terrible tires. And
Well,
like
we
I
do know that some truck wise, some of them do like put weaker tires because they don't want to get hit with their surveys. But like the SUVs, you wouldn't think it'd be that way.
yeah, I've never had a problem with stock tires. Like I've never had an issue. I've bought vehicles. I've had stock tires for a year. I mean, yes, I don't drive a stock tire for 5 years and put 100,000 miles. I totally understand that, but
Yeah.
I've never had. I don't know. I mean, where are you at in this camp? Do
Um,
all stock tires terrible? A manufacturer did a crappy job, or does it
I mean,
depend?
I don't know. I mean, I've fussed about what like Toyota, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. I've fussed at what they put on the like their off-road version. I think it's an awful Goodyear tire they put on. It's probably quiet and it somewhat looks aggressive, but as far as like being a all-season tire or all, having there's probably no snowflake on that tire for that it's snow rated. But
Yeah, there's a
it
new
is interesting because
thing. Yeah.
half of America, if you think about it, from basically I-40 up, has to deal with a lot of snow, or 70, I guess, up has to deal with a lot of snow, and then below that really doesn't deal with it that much. So it is interesting for a manufacturer to how do they find a tire that works best for the whole country?
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest challenge with manufacturing, right? And engineering, it's like you have to build a vehicle that fits the middle of
Yeah,
everybody. You
yeah,
can't. I mean, it's like you can't go too far. You lose some of the audience. You can't go too little. I mean, you have to build for the middle, which I know a lot of. I just made a comment on the forum that we have about how engineers just. I know a lot of engineers who don't like the trucks they put out, all the versions of it. I've talked to many engineers who buy a stock truck and they go modify it
yeah.
because again they're just like I have to build it for everybody, and it's I wish we didn't do it. And I talked to so many different engineers who talk about they don't like to price new vehicles too. Like they bitch about truck prices. So consumers bitch about it, engineers and marketing bitches about it, and it's
Well,
just they can't do anything about it. You have to have standard safety equipment now mandated from the
yeah.
government. You have to have emissions equipment, which makes things more expensive. You have to cut weight. You have to have this technology inside the meat for customers who want to buy it for that middle realm of people, and it just all adds up. And
Well, these
I can't
vehicles are
believe
like
it.
a MMA fighter. They're like having to lean down, get ready for the big fight,
Yeah.
and
Oh
get beat
yeah.
up by the audience that you're going
Well,
out
yeah,
to.
and it's funny because I remember Sheldon Brown was so excited about the Tacoma, that extra cab Tacoma coming in at less than $30,000, and people started blowing up in the comments on that video, and I was like, "No, you don't understand. He was like over the moon. He could build that. Like he did everything he could to bring that to market. Like he really struggled to get that truck out there." And so
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. Yeah. Dust Daddy has a good comment. Tough to put tires that are good for snow on all vehicles in half the country. So same thing you did.
yeah.
It's just interesting that I've been doing this job 14 years. No. Yeah, 14 years. And I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of press vehicles by now, 1 week loan vehicle manufacturer. And this is the first time I ever really came across a situation where I literally was nervous to drive the vehicle.
Well, that Mazda CX-90, that's kind of a luxury SUV though too, right? Like, I mean, I would assume the tires there, like that is it's a different audience probably buying that one, right? I mean, I won't say Mazda is completely luxury, but they're not like a generic, easy, cheap brand either anymore.
Right. Mazda's trying to go premium, which I think is an
Mhm.
interesting strategy. But yeah, it seems like it'd be a better tire. And I actually, it's funny because I did if you guys don't know, I did a short on it. It's actually in my longer video. I'm going to do a comparison between Grand Highlander and the CX-90 because I thought it was interesting. But I did a short on it, and I actually was outside in the cold at like 2 degrees because I was so pissed off. I filmed it. I was actually really mad when I filmed that video. I filmed it twice because I filmed it the first time and I thought, okay, I'm gonna get comments. I know I'm gonna get comments. I'm gonna get haterade on this. So then I had my phone outside and I Googled the tire so I could make sure I had the information correct as best I could. And then I shot it again. But it's interesting because the comments in that short were like, you didn't mention this, you didn't mention that, you should mention this. Guys, you have a minute.
Yeah.
You have 1 minute and you have to get through as much as you can in the 1 minute. And then I have to talk as slowly as I can for the audience to understand what I'm
Well,
saying. So it's
you know,
like
you
maddening.
you mentioned that minute, and there's been a string of major YouTubers quitting YouTube recently because of the stresses of what we do, and of course there are some major channels, so they're under it's a whole nother level of stress. But I think part of that is just what you just said, man. You got a minute. We all want shorts. We all want to be able to skim through these things real quick, but then you want the the 15 minutes worth of information in that scroll, man. But I was really, this is weird, but I'd recently found the Theorist channel, which is kind of like my son. It was something for my son's generation. And I was watching this going, oh, this is great. And then like a month later, he's like, I'm quitting. And I'm like, damn it, man. I just was getting into this, man. It was fun. But that's a whole nother.
Yeah, burnout's a real thing. I mean, yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah, but it is interesting the minute, like you have to have a minute, and it's like,
yeah.
And here's behind the scenes for those folks that are here watching. You don't understand. People are like, I just want the answer. I don't want a full video. I want the 1 minute video. Well, here's the thing. I did a YouTube short on tow hooks for the Tacoma versus the Tundra and why Tacoma has tow hooks, the Tundra doesn't. 330,000 views, I think now. I made $50.
Yeah, you don't get paid anything.
Like shorts. I mean, I understand the audience is like, I want something really fast. Just give me the information. But from a creator standpoint, I'd be out of business if all I did was shorts. I'd be completely out of business because it doesn't pay at all. So
I think they're relying on product endorsements and
right. Well, think about that. So here's another. I had a video I did compare. My son came up asking me this question. So him and I are talking. He's got a YouTube channel, and I have a video that has 225,000 views, and I made $5,000. So there's your comparison. I can make $5,000 on a video that's 10 minutes long, or I can make $50 in a video that's a minute long.
And those that are watching, that doesn't happen all the time. So don't think, oh, Tim's just $5,000 every video.
Oh, yeah. No, that video has been up for 3 years now. I mean, so that's the thing. It's YouTube's all based on residual income. So, but anyways,
yeah, I'll get a short that maybe pop off 3,000 to 5,000, and I'll make 50 cents. So it's there. The only reason we do those, or for me, my channel is the only reason we do those is so YouTube you stay in their happy algorithm. Past that, like, I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, I find myself getting sucked into reels on Instagram or something, but I don't want to make that content. So, and part of what we do is we're creative, and obviously Tim has a journalism background, but he's creative and wants to be creative here on YouTube. And, not everybody's creative at 15-second blocks at a time. So
it is.
So, Jill is though. Jill is.
Jill has the best thing that happened to Jill was TikTok, because Jill was a little bit unfocused on camera and a little bit didn't quite get it, but being forced to have a minute to explain some details has really sharpened her video. And I'm just naturally a storyteller, so I just always make
it's the beard, isn't it? You can because I can't grow a beard. So if you can grow a beard, you can do this and tell stories. Yeah. See, that's how he's pulling information to tell the story. He's pulling it from his brain to his mouth.
I mean, people always love people love the forum because I'm always like sharing stuff like behind the scenes, more story, because it's just interesting.
Oh, TRD John's
hey, John's here. John's done a bunch of shorts. John has an amazing Instagram account.
John should pop in on this, is what John should do. Like,
I don't care about Instagram at all. I just think it's a joke, but he's got an amazing Instagram.
Dude, I know I was sucked in. Of course, John sent $5. Says I constantly send $5 on his channel when he goes live, because I used to do it with Tim a lot too, to try to get people to engage and be like, I want to help support the channel. And Tim's a dead zone with that one. I've tried to get people to. You guys should support Tim's channel. Trust me. Believe it or not, Tim's too proud to say this, but believe it or not, the little $5 occasionally does help get you to the next place we need to travel to. So Tim's too proud to say that, but it is true.
Yeah. I don't.
He was just talking about his $5,000 video, and I'm over here going, "Hey, $5 means a lot."
Right. Well, yeah.
But no, like, so today we should have I think a pretty fun show today. I've got some Ranger stuff I want to talk about here in just a second. Let me send this over in case he wants to join in. I sent that to you in case you want. Don't feel obligated, but in case you want to. Tim was too scared to be on the channel last week. I had John on. So,
well, I told you the reason is I tend to dominate conversations, and I wanted John to talk. I wanted you guys to have a conversation without me dominating the conversation, because I tend to do that.
But we appreciate TRD John. I seen he posted a video yesterday of I guess we can get in this a little bit. He posted a video of trucks Tacoma's moving, Tim.
Yeah, I saw there's a Tacoma forum that apparently has a list of the Tacomas that are coming dealerships,
Mhm.
and apparently it's coming out, and there's a photo going around. It was a Facebook photo too about a. Oh, he's listing on a gym. So he's there's a photo of Tacoma's going dealership. There was a conversation about whether EPA certifications was holding it up, and I actually asked Toyota, and they wouldn't comment on that. They had nothing to say. So, which is, I think, it's kind of strange. Like, it's so strange to me. Like, I'll get answers for things that I don't expect, and I'll get not answers for other things.
Yeah, so
Um,
here's from John's video. You guys, I'll put the link in the script or in the comments in
right?
just a
Yeah,
second if you want to watch it.
that's the initial batch.
Yeah. Which I know John was very excited because he's been waiting. He said his I think was built mid-December sometime, and he's just been waiting on it. Of course, especially if you're I won't say he's completely Toyota. He does talk a little bit of everything now, but he's kind of a Toyota focused channel, and it's got to be like, we were just talking about unique content. It helps pay the bills. Well, if your content is sitting there like for over a month now, just sitting
Right.
there, you're just like, damn it, man, what do I do here? So hopefully John is one of the first to get his hands on this truck because I can't wait to see what he does with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for him to get it too. I had to back out because there was nothing available, and so then, and I didn't want what I want. I didn't want the $55,000 TRD off road. I just thought that was dumb. I'd rather it. This sounds crazy to some people, but if I'm gonna spend $55,000 in a midsize truck because I have that premium off road package, which is what they're building right now, I'd rather just wait and spend a little bit more and get the Trail Hunter.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, I don't understand your video. You said 55,000 is too expensive. And I'm like, well, I should have clarified that a little bit better in the video. It's my bad. But
Well, it is. I mean, let's be honest, it is. But guess what? 60,000 is just as expensive, but you're getting more. So
right. I mean, so I mean, and I think that um it drives people nuts when I say this a little bit in that when when you reach that level, if you're spending 55 or 60, 55 to 60 isn't that big of a jump in payment and money down, all that kind of stuff. It's the jump from 40 to 60. That's the bigger jump, right? That's I know. I'll see John on. I think I see John on Tuesday. I'll have a
are you
conversation.
going the Lexus event?
Yeah, Alexa's event is this week. So,
Nice.
but and when you get to like 75 to 80, it's not that big of a jump. And that's what I was trying to talk about in the video was if I'm at 55, I'd rather just spend a little bit more and get the TRD Trail Hunter if I'm going to be just in that realm of pricing. Now we don't know Trail Hunter pricing yet. I mean that could be
Oh man, me and John talked about that last week, dude. I'm scared for where that truck is going to go. I mean, you're getting quite a bit. I know in your forum, which we're going to bring up in just a second, there's a hot debate on there about the air compressor that the high output, I should say, high output air compressor that truck gets versus the others don't get it. And I guess in some it's not even an option. I'll let you discuss that in
yeah,
just a second. But
yeah.
man, we were talking about prices on these trucks, and Tim, I'm scared that Trail Hunter may be over $70,000.
It could be. I also think from a creative standpoint for like a channel, the Trail Hunter makes more sense. It's more
Oh,
unique. Yeah,
100%,
yeah.
yes.
So I mean, from a business, I think from a business side, it makes a lot of sense for me to buy it. From consumer side, it's going to be a niche vehicle, slow seller.
Yeah.
I think that's the reality of that. But yeah, it's been an interesting conversation, and that's the one thing I hate pimping the forum every single time. But one of the things I really do enjoy about the forum is I can track people's answers and get to know them better. But also they follow up with questions and things that I didn't think about, like like so we did the walk around of the Trail Hunter in Hawaii, then we did the walk around of it, the black one in Texas, and so I've seen it a couple of times. And you talk about these things on camera, but you don't anticipate how much the audience talks about these things. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little further down in the Tacoma forum thread or node or whatever they call this thing. There's a lot of people that are really interested in the high output air compressor, which model it comes on. It comes, it's pre-wired on limited and comes as an optional accessory on limited and comes standard on the Trail Hunter. There was also some conversation about the stabilizer disconnect bar or the stabilizer disconnect, not bar, but feature.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because again, it's something you type in a story or you say on camera, and you don't think much of, but there was a lot of conversation about that and what it comes in, why do you need it, and what makes sense. And I thought that was a really interesting point too. And Ben and Beta, who's got a channel as well, he was pointing out how out of touch some journalists are with consumers and what consumers' needs are, and he has a good valid point in that we don't journalists don't always talk about all the features in depth as much as a consumer would. But I replied back to him. I said, you're talking about this Tacoma, this issue, this idea, the stabilizer disconnect on this Tacoma, and you want more details on it. But you understand that I did that video in May, and since
Yeah.
then I have done 100 other things. So like when I shoot a video on whatever vehicle I have this week, you may come back with me in a month and say, hey, did it have this feature, that button, whatever. I'm already like 7 vehicles beyond that. Like I'm gone. I'm not
Yeah.
even close to where that is. And the same
Well,
thing, yeah.
I think, consumers, for one, they don't understand. Because when I got to do a walk around video, I think you did one in Texas when we got to see the trail hunter for the first time. People ding you in the comments like, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. You're like, look, man, I get 15 minutes with a vehicle, and then there's another journalist waiting. And on that particular video, everybody was at lunch, and that's when I got my chance to go run over there and do it. So trust me, Fat Dave over there did not get any horrible lunch in Texas, but I suffered for your content. But anyways, like, you get a limited amount of time, and me being still a little new to some of that, like, I got a lot of comments, well, you didn't let the guy talk, or you interrupt him and stuff. It's because your brain's processing. You're going, I've got so little time. I want to hit the high points, and then stuff like the Stay Bar Connect or whatever they're calling it in that brand. Yeah, you kind of forget about it because you were trying to hit other high notes that people want, or that other channels haven't necessarily focused on. And that's a big one, is because, like, TRD John, he brings his own style to this. Tim, you bring your own style to this. Because I'm off-road focused a lot, I try to bring that to it. But that's why if you find a variety of channels, then you go, okay, I like to pick from Tim and this. Tim always does a good breakdown, or Jill always does a good breakdown of this part. TRD John, man, is the overall, he's going to talk about it and he's going to modify it. And then, Dave, hey, he's going to go be stupid and break it. I don't know. Find your channels. Don't just depend on one channel to be your end all be all.
I thought that was interesting because I asked that same question in the forum. Like, how many videos do you watch? Like, because TFL had the big truck channel on YouTube. People know them. They had a pre-production Tacoma. They did a bunch of videos on it. And I had asked the press fleet office, like, where is this vehicle? And they're like, no, it's pre-production. And so I never got a chance to get that vehicle. And so I was like, well, if they've already done all
that was upsetting. That I don't know why, and I'm not going to pick on TFL because if they get offered something, why would you not take it? Like, I don't blame them at all. But I did thought that was kind of crappy because I know you're in that area of the cars, and I didn't see anybody else get that vehicle.
Yeah, it was kind of it's what happens. I mean, they send the vehicles
they're a bigger channel
first, right?
Makes sense.
So then I was like, well, what should I even? It kind of kills your vibe to do videos. It kind of is like, well, and then I'm like, well, you know what? I like what I do, and I like what I do in the channel, and I like what the viewpoint I have. So I'm gonna do my own thing. And I talked to people were like, no, they're like, they may watch 3 Tacoma videos, but still gonna watch mine just because I tend to talk about things like you're right. You've talked about different angles of it. It's interesting. Can you see that Dust Daddy video coming up? That's hilarious. That guy, I gotta have a beer with that guy. He says, "What? You mean you're not still standing next to Tacoma and tell me how many inches the seat moves backwards? Come on, I need to know right now." I'm like, yeah, that's literally in the comments on YouTube. It's like, hey, so when you were standing next to it, did you notice that there was a button here for this? And I'm like, dude, that was like 9 months ago. Like, no, and I don't know. It's interesting.
And Mobile has a good point here. It's so splintered and inconsistent. That's why people might have low interest, and that's 100% because I've seen, I've been invited to things I probably wasn't at the time ready to go to, especially early on with Nissan. Nissan was inviting me to a lot of stuff, and I was green and didn't know how to properly get that out there. And now, like we were talking earlier, now with it, Instagram and TikTok, like, I know for the Ford Ranger that's coming up, I think me and you were talking, Tim, you said, hey, it's going to be a smaller group of people this time. They're not,
yeah,
it's not as huge of an event because for one, Ford's got to get that truck out. They don't have time to do that. But the Instagrammers, Tim, they're inviting some of those people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they got to hit different audiences. I mean, it makes
Mhm.
sense. I don't have a problem with influencers. I don't have a problem with Instagrammers. I mean, that's how they make their money.
The only time I do is if I don't get invited.
Right. No. As I
That
told you,
FOMO, you know?
FOMO is a big part of our business. But yeah, so that's a little inside baseball. That's what I love about live streams is you talk about topics that are not just so focused on the vehicle. But the Ford Ranger launch or the Ford Ranger first drive event is only 2 waves.
Yeah.
And so a wave is a group of journalists that come in. So there's like Lexus wave, Lexus GX. There's 20 of us the first day. Then they bring another wave of 20, another wave of 20, another wave of 20. Then they bring in they'll bring in some dealers, they'll bring in some influencers, that kind of stuff. But the Ford Ranger event, I was shocked. It's only 2 waves, which means you're only going to have like
maybe 40,
30 or 40 people, and half those people don't do video, half those people just write, right? And so, and then you probably have an influencer wave on the back end, so you have another 20 there. So you don't have a whole lot of voices there. So it's gonna be interesting. And that's the thing, I don't always know what the right approach is. Like, should I post a picture of the Ford Ranger and say what kind of questions you have? I've been successful with that in the past, some of the audience stuff. Sometimes it's like the questions are like, why did Ford even do that? It's so freaking stupid, and it's just dumb how expensive it is. And it's like, well, there's a lot of questions you can't ask because they're not intelligent questions, But I don't know. It is interesting, that viewpoint. And when I like it. I don't like first drive events, to be honest with you, because it's like being thrown in a tornado and you have to film the vehicle right away. I actually prefer 7-day loans because a lot of times, like I'll drive around and I'll think about something. The Grand Highlander. Here's a teaser for you. The wireless charger sucks. It completely sucks. And so you're at this first drive event in Hawaii. You're in Hawaii, visually, you're like, holy cow, look at all this stuff. And then B, you're driving I think I drove that Grand Highlander a total of 45 minutes because there's a long waiting list for the Hybrid Max, which Hybrid Max is ridiculous to me. But
I like that vehicle a lot, man.
I like the vehicle a lot. I like the hybrid. I don't like the Hybrid Max.
Yeah.
But it's like I never even noticed. And so now this is what happens. Here's your teaser. It's a flat panel where the phone sits in. It lays flat, and there's no guides on the sides.
Oh, wow.
I made a left-hand turn. My phone went all the way across and stopped.
Are you telling me the Grand Highlander Max is not a sports car?
No, I did a normal Dave. Right. Yeah. So it's flat. The wireless charger goes on the right-hand side. It's about that long, right? And so I made the right-hand turn. My phone hit the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you screw that up? That's my question. How does nobody in development or engineering or caught that? You make a right-hand turn and the phone goes, and all you got to do is you got to put little guides in. I'm not talking like $1 million.
Well, the Tundra and all that has those little guides. That
keep put a little guide in, or make the indentation a little bit lower so your phone stays in there. But yeah, I was just surprised.
Well, that's one good thing about your forum, Tim, is that you're able to, if you're at these events, pay attention to Tim's forum, man. If you know he's at a press event, I have a feeling he might be posting something in there looking for your feedback, and which is kind of cool versus a lot of people do it through Patreon, and you're paying for this forum to post a forum up there, for not a man of the people necessarily, but there's ads on it. But that's a great way for you to connect your community is right. Like, hey.
And I like it better in YouTube because the YouTube comments just get it's just too much. I just can't keep track of, especially like RV's posting different things. Like the forum, you just have to register, and then I get really detailed questions back. Like
we get good ads. Look at this, Fast X.
But yeah, but it's like and then for me, I can check the forum a lot easier than I can YouTube. I don't know. And I've been doing this job too long with YouTube. The YouTube comments anymore it's just the same stuff. It's just the same. Yeah. I hate this. Trucks are so expensive. The world's ending. The economy's crashing. Wait till the next president comes in. The EPA is going to be abolished. And it's like the same stuff over and over again. And I just like the forum because it's to me it really narrows down and gets rid of the bogus people and really gets real people that really want to talk about stuff.
I'm the Bronco genius.
We all gonna dice. Yeah.
Oh man, I love Mobile.
So
he's been with me for a long time.
Right. Look, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna do a separate video on this. By the way, if you're listening to the live stream, I want to split this up. So I want to get Dave's opinion on this topic as well. So I'm gonna set this up. So if you're not paying attention, this is what's going on. So we're doing a live. It's Dave with All Terrain Nation. It's Tim Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. I'm gonna separate this up from this live stream we're doing, but I want to talk about this topic. This question has been coming up a lot, and I want to get your viewpoint on it. So the question is this: with the higher price of full-size trucks and the towing capacity of mid-size trucks getting more, are people cross-shopping mid-size and full-size more than what manufacturers led us to believe? And I pull up this video because, and I'm just going to let it play in the background, because a couple years ago I had really random luck. Ended up getting a GMC Sierra and a Honda Ridgeline, which I need to add 1500 to that GMC Sierra anyways, title. And I ended up doing a video where I walked around both and showed the payload and I showed the vehicle overall. And it's interesting. And I think people are cross-shopping mid-size, full-size now because, like I said, those reasons. Full-size got really big, it's gotten really expensive, and people's needs haven't really changed. They're not, 13,000 pounds and a half ton. If you're max towing that, I think A, you're dumb because that's a lot of weight for half ton. And B, go find a pull behind camper that weighs 13,000 pounds. You can't. It's all fifth wheel. So it makes no sense to do that. And I don't know. Oh, I'm wearing gloves. Apparently it was cold that day. I'm like, what's on my hands?
You're so badass. That's what it is.
Right. I'm going to speed up this. I'm going to turn the speed of this video up a little bit. But by the way, I watch all videos like at 1:25.
He does. Tim will go. He'll watch something I did, and he was like, "Man, you got through that really quick." And he's like, "Well, I watched it at 2x or whatever." Oh, look, an ad.
Yeah, we'll skip that ad for now. Don't skip the ads. But in this particular case, we're gonna skip that ad. But no, yeah, people are always like, "You talk really fast," and so my videos now I've started saying, because Dust pointed out, Daddy, in one of the videos, he goes, "Just go to the settings and turn Tim's speed down."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so in the videos, I'm like, you think I talk fast? Guess what? Press the button. But this is an interesting comparison. The payload actually, here's a shocker for you guys. The payload is actually more in the Ridgeline than it is the Sierra. So people think the Sierra is a bigger truck, and so it can carry more stuff. Volume wise, it can. Oh, look at I'm talking about tires. That's weird. Volume wise,
how on topic.
The bed is bigger in the Sierra, but you actually can haul more weight in the Ridgeline.
I wonder if it's because the unibody construction is just able to do that versus.
No, actually, I've been looking at that more and more. You look at the mid-sized trucks, and mid-sized trucks have better, starting to have better payload. It's based on GBWR minus curb weight equals payload.
Well, in a lot of cases, they're built on the same framing.
Yeah.
So it's they're a smaller vehicle built on a not heavy duty, but a 1500 framing. A lot of cases, so it makes sense.
So I mean, that's my question. It's like, if you were shopping for a new truck today, and you saw a light duty or full size truck was within $4,000 or $5,000 of a mid size truck, does size matter to you at all? Or are you just shopping for truck versus truck?
Well, so we battle this at my house. Kelly loves a full size pickup truck.
Because so make sure you ask.
She likes. I had a Nissan, the latest Titan. We did a 3-year long-term review of that vehicle. It was a fun vehicle. Did everything. I mean, I hauled mulch, did all the normal stuff you do with the truck with it. I pulled with it, pulled well, pulled my Nissan Xterra 200-300 miles with it. Worked great. But I'm just more attracted to midsize just because it's easier to deal with in a daily situation. And for me personally, and I'm not against full-size trucks by any means because I like them. I would have a TRX in a heartbeat. But I just think that for my normal use, it doesn't fit what we generally do. They take up in my driveway, which I already have driveway issues of my driveway is fairly narrow. So when you pull two cars next to each other, it's like either you step out of the mud or whatever. So you add a full-size truck to that and it's just, you're in the mud. And then if I needed that, I could just go rent one, to be honest. And I think that's where, there's definitely with trucks, it's a kind of a dick measuring thing. I think sometimes, especially between you and your neighbors, for whatever reason, we always want to have the latest, coolest and you want the biggest and most tough looking. Well, I think that's where people get caught up in the big trucks and maybe should compare the little trucks. Cause with the new Ranger that's coming out, you're about to do the press tour of that. you get a lot of good features in that truck, man. A lot of like you can get the backup, what do Ford call that there, where you can hook up to the towing assist deal. It's a little dial, it'll help you back the vehicle up. You get all that in the little trucks now. So I don't understand, like, I don't wanna be forced into a big truck for features like that now that they're doing them in the little trucks.
I mean, that's the guy's point. And I've talked to automakers, and automakers tell me nobody cross shops. But I
Oh,
wonder
they're
if that's
silly. They're
changing.
silly.
Yeah, I
If
just don't
nobody
want.
cross shops, there wouldn't be a million YouTube channels of everybody wanting to talk cars.
Well, I mean, I'm saying cross shops, mid-size to full size.
No, but that's
Um,
my point is if no, like, at some point you type in truck, if you're new to trucks and you just type in truck, YouTube's the second largest search engine.
right.
So people use it for a search engine. You type in trucks, guess what? You're going to see everything. So if you're a new buyer to this market, which we know there's a lot because they've all killed cars. so so it's either this or an SUV now. So people are shopping them and they're going to come across each brand or each size.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting. Like and you bring a great point in that if the it used to be the mid-size truck was cheap and you didn't get all the features and
Mhm.
whatever, you didn't get all the stuff. And fuel economy was better, right, in mid-size truck. But now we look at stuff, fuel economy is the same mid-size to full size. It
Yeah.
really is. Features are the same mid-size to full size. You can get luxury interiors like with the mid-size as you could the full size. Technology is the same. So as you bring up an interest, the point is, if you're shopping mid-size or full size to mid-size, you're basically looking at maneuverability, parking and parking garages, parking spaces, garage ability. Does it fit in your garage? That's a big selling reason mid-size trucks. And beyond that, that's kind of what you have. Now, I will say that from a cabin room situation, like as far as space in there, like one guy, he's like, I have a family or I have dogs, whatever. I'm like, I've never heard a full size guy bitch about how much room they have in the cabin. I have heard mid-sized guys bitch about, I wish I had another inch of leg room or another inch of this,
Yeah.
whatever. So,
Well, especially yeah, back definitely.
right. So if you are carrying a family, if you're hauling stuff on a consistent basis, if that's your plan, you really can't go mid-size. Mid-size crew cab is substantially different than a full-size crew cab.
Well, I don't know, man. I've had a few Nissan Frontiers, the big cab Frontiers, and I mean, I have my son's, obviously he's moved out now, but at the time, like, he was a teenager, my daughter was a toddlerish, like, it didn't never bothered us. I never heard my son complain he didn't have enough room on trips or anything. I mean, I think we tend to look at this as where we're at in our life. Like, you have two teenager kids now, or one's close to
Yeah,
it. Like,
yeah,
they're bigger kids, so now it might be, but depending on when where you're at in your life, maybe, maybe each you look at each truck a little differently and be educated, and especially for your family. Don't just because I know my dad, man, when the Grand Nationals dropped, and this is dating me, but when those dropped, my dad wanted that car so badly. But guess what? It wasn't a family car. Like, the
mhm.
idea of we were three kids that would had to sit in the back of that. So guess what? He had to sway his so he
Yeah,
went for more economical reasons.
yeah. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting topic to discuss, and I wanted to just kind of talk about with you because I know you've had both
Mm.
vehicles, and
Oh yeah.
well, I haven't owned a mid-size truck in 20 some years, but I've had driven them quite a bit.
I keep trying to take I when the Nissan, I kept trying to bug him, buy that Frontier, live in a small truck for a while, and he was like, "Dude, it's a Nissan. Come on, man."
Well, yeah, it's nothing. It's not SEO traffic on a Nissan
Yeah.
Frontier is not as
Yes.
high. It's just business. But I do. It is interesting. I've been thinking
Well,
about what to do.
here's something interesting from Mike. I think putting another 6 inches in the cab of a midsize, maybe offering 6 inches shorter bed. I wanna bed length on a midsize truck, man. I've heard so much crap about that the GM and Ford. I call it the top the instead of the big 3 now, that it's only the big 2, seeing as how Stellantis, whatever they're doing. I don't know what they're a European company now. So all my videos that I've talked about those vehicles people are upset that the bed, they're not offering this 6-foot bed. They're not doing this and that. And of course, Toyota still is, but that I can't buy into that where let's add more to the bed and shorten the cab of or the bed
I,
of
I
it a
hear
little
I
bit.
hear it both ways. People want another inch in the cabin and one out of the bed, and then people
Yeah.
say, I want another foot in the bed and take the foot out of the cabin. They want to extend
I
the
would
cabin.
love I would love for one
I've
of
heard
these
it both ways.
manufacturers to do a blind taste test sort of, where they put people in the back of a truck and go, "Okay, this is truck A, and here's truck B, and truck B has that 1 extra inch." And I guarantee you nobody would notice. Never you wouldn't have to be, like, blindfolded. I guarantee you could get into each truck and go, "Okay, which one is the inch longer one?" You would never notice.
So I think it's interesting with that topic because the Jeep Gladiator is actually the biggest mid-size
Mhm.
truck on the market.
Yeah, which I've
It's
owned.
actually the longest, and it's actually legroom and everything. But they're I haven't heard Jeep Gladiator owners talking about how great it is to have that little longer truck. And I'd be
Um,
curious to know from those owners, like, is that was that a selling feature? Because I don't think it is. And
I honestly, it wasn't when I looked at it as a
because
review
you
vehicle. I mean, I
bought
didn't
one,
take yeah, I didn't take that in consideration, like, "Oh my god, look at all the room." It is I will say it is definitely you can tell it's more spacious,
right? I mean, so it is interesting. It's like it's the only mid-sized truck that doesn't fit in a standard 17.5 foot garage,
but it's
unless
the worst seating vehicle I've ever owned.
right because you sit up
The
like
most
this.
uncomfortable. Well,
Oh
that
yeah,
and the Jeep knows they have to make the cushions last longer than normal vehicles because they're making their vehicles to go off-roading, be beat up a little bit, take more abuse. So I think they put a harder foam in them, so knowing it's gonna eventually over 10 years soften up. But, oh, new, awful seating, and I've taken a lot of crap on that video, but most of the people that give me crap own the leather seating, which is completely different. It's more comfortable. But anyways.
yeah. I've had my issues drive. It's a weird drive. So, anyways, I just want to bring it up. I thought it was interesting conversation to talk about, and you know what, it's I was I actually thought this up with the Rivian. If I don't know if you've ridden in a Rivian, but Rivian is bigger than the Tacoma.
Mhm.
It's actually for people that want like that larger size midsize. The Rivian is actually that sweet spot between that and the
Yeah,
full
it's a
size.
little wider, it seems
A
like.
little bit wider, a little bit more cabin room. You just got to decide whether you want an EV or not. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no,
and what
I
the
was
price point.
talking I was
Holy
talking
cow!
what I was did a little walk around. I didn't drop a video on it, but I did a walk around with a Rivian rep a couple weeks ago, and God, those they I will say that's probably my favorite EV truck right now. I think they nailed the best of making it look a little futuristic, but not just going completely Cybertruck. They could have done something crazy like that for attention. And I'm not crapping on Cybertruck either. That's a whole nother channel. But this, I think the Rivian, they nailed what made a truck. They really looked at what trucks are, probably through when Ford bought into them, probably helped focus that a little bit. But I think for that mid-size kind of segment, if you want an EV truck, it's probably the best, most comfortable out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you gotta get past a little front end styling. It's a little unique. Unique is a nice way to put it, but
Not as unique as Cybertruck.
that is true. But yeah, it's like yeah, exactly. TRG John says Rivian is like a first gen Tundra inside. It's the perfect size. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think people want that first gen Tundra. They want a lot of people I know have old Dodge Dakotas that
Well,
were like
do you think that if these, Ford's done well with the Maverick and the Maverick, I saw a Maverick next to at a red light the other day next to the current Ranger, or I guess the last generation Ranger. And if you see just a Maverick in a picture, you're like, man, that thing still kind of looks big. But when you see it next to what we call midsize now, you're like, okay, I see it. It is a little smaller. It's proportioned better. Do you think if all these brands would bring something more Gen 1, Gen 2 truck size in this segment back? For one, they're more fuel. I remember a hard body that I had, a 1990 hard body. Dude, I could get almost 30 miles per gallon in that little truck. Like ridiculous. Do you think if they were to bring, I know safety is a big deal with that, you shove all this tech into this, which makes it, more heavy, crash, the old trucks were steel bodies that didn't give as much as today's more thinly stamped vehicles. Do you think there would be a market for that? Do you think if Toyota, what's the Stout Toyota? There's all these rumors, and I think you did a video on it. There's rumors that that thing might be coming to the United States. Do you think that if they built a smaller, like I remember the old Back to the Future generation Toyota truck, dude, that was a great size vehicle. Yeah, it was basically a two-seater, but a lot of cases now, this generation, the millennials and Gen X or Gen Z, they're not having kids. I think there's a case study for, hey, people just need a two-seater, basically, maybe an extra cab where you can throw something back there so it doesn't get wet. Maybe there's a case for that now.
I think I think they're trying. I think automakers. I mean, obviously, automakers want to build what people want to buy. right? I mean, that's they're going to do that.
Well, Ford said that this week.
From from a production standpoint, talking about the Lightning, but from a building standpoint, I think it's probably the same amount of money it costs to build a full size as it does midsize, because
Yeah.
I don't think it's any more expense. So it's like,
Generally, the wiring, same amount of wiring,
right.
almost the same amount of metal.
So yeah, I think from automaker standpoint, they're like, we can go smaller, but look at the half ton market. That sold, I think, 3 to 4 million units last year. And look at
It
the
was
overall market. The market sells about 16 million, I think, per year. So 25% of the market is in just trucks, and people are buying full size trucks so it's one of the situations where they don't want to mess with that. Like, they don't mess with that. But I think they are hearing consumers on smaller size. And so that's where, again, your Ford Maverick came out, your Hyundai Santa Cruz came out. And what's interesting with the Ford Maverick, I still go back to this, is Ford came out and literally said, CEO Jim Farley said, wow, you guys like that truck, huh? Like, they were like, oh, wow, people bought the crap out of it. Oh, holy cow. Like, Ford had no idea that's what people wanted. And
Well, we didn't. I remember me and you talking privately about this, going, and I told you, I said, like, I don't get the Maverick. I really don't. I mean, I thought it looked nice. It was nice, but just that unibody small truck, I didn't understand completely about it till you get to, I guess, be around one too. That didn't help either. But that, and it launched right in the middle of COVID. That didn't help.
I will tell you, as soon as the Maverick came out, the day of the press photos, I got a message on Facebook from an engineer of mine, this friend of mine, and it was, let's just say, not safe for work verbiage on what this thing is. Like, he was a rival company, and he was like, "What in the hell is this?" Because he was confused, and he's been a truck guy his entire life. And so I think truck guys were really confused when that first came out. And then when I drove it at the event, I said, I don't know if I tell the whole story, but it was a long. So I'm at the event and at the bar that night. We always have drinks at the events, whatever. And these two engineers walk up to me, and they said, "We were told to come talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, come talk to me." And so they were like, "What do you think of the Maverick?" And I said, "It's a great side by side competitor." And they're like, "Okay." So I talked to those guys for a while, like 30 minutes. So they asked me questions, I answered the questions. And so next morning at breakfast, the same engineer walks over and he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I got to tell you, you just destroyed my breakfast this morning." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I spent the entire time with my computer open researching what a side by side was."
Speaking of, what a great thing, Tim. I just dropped a new side by side video. So after this,
Right? Yeah. So there's your thing. But so, I mean, but you look at from a farming standpoint, and I live in farm country, USA, here in Nebraska, and I talk to farmers all the time. They still want the 2-wheel drive trucks. Remember, the 2-wheel drive truck was lower than a 4-wheel drive truck was?
Oh yeah, they used to look completely different.
Right. It used to look different. You could go fix fence, you could go haul stuff around, you reach in the bed, you could get stuff out of it, right? And so those same farmers have switched to side by sides because trucks have gotten taller, hard to maneuver, more expensive. They're like, "Look, I can go buy a side by side for $20,000, and it does the same job that my hard body Nissan Frontier used to do, right? It does the same job because I have a little bed. I go fix fence, I go check on cattle, whatever. I can haul some feed back there too." And so, yeah, to me, that's where that competition was. And they were just, again, Ford was so confused on that.
No, mobile, I see them. They drive as long as they have lights here in Tennessee. You're allowed to drive them anywhere. I mean, obviously not on the highway, but
yeah, side by side.
No, I see them riding around here in town all the time.
Yeah, side by side's illegal here in Nebraska. Actually, I was up in South Dakota and driving through South Dakota, and you can always tell where the farmers meet at, at the old coffee stand or the old breakfast or whatever. And I drove by one of those places, and it was like 8 side by sides and 2 trucks.
Well, so it's interesting you bring up side by sides. So I did it, and I'm not keep plugging my video, but so I did a video. I do it once a year, usually in January, where I go through the local UTV store and kind of look at pricing of the things. So I was looking, I think it was a Polaris, and I've never seen a long bed version of a side by side before. And sure enough, it looked like basically the size of a K truck. And for those that don't know, a K truck is little Japanese pickup trucks. They're very economical. They're like a little 3-cylinder truck. Actually can do a lot of cool truck things, usually 4-wheel drive, and like they're just tiny. And this thing was almost the damn same size, but the problem was it was $29,000. You know what? I can import a K truck for under 10 grand right now and tag it just like everything else here in Tennessee. Not every state
Right,
allows
yeah.
you to
I mean,
tag them, but
I've seen a farmer here and there have a K truck. I mean, I people use them. Walmart, my local Walmart here has a side by side for sale in the store. It's actually got two of them. It's got yeah. What's the name of that? Coleman.
yeah,
It's a Coleman side by side, and
I
it's
seen
they
it at
label
Home
it like
Depot
a
and stuff. Yeah,
label it like a golf cart in Walmart because Walmart's dumb on some of the stuff they do. But I was just like, really? Yeah. So I think I think you're right. I think there is a market for that. I think we're going to see. I've been led to believe that a Toyota Stout compact truck will be coming out this year. That's I've
I
been
can
led to
see
believe
it.
that from different sources. I've talked about in different videos about if you look at how fast the Maverick took off in sales, how they can't build enough, and how they're always behind in production. There's a real market there, and I was surprised there's not more manufacturers who actually build compact trucks. Oh,
Yes,
Mobile saying Coleman private labels for someone like Polaris. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. I don't think it is a Coleman made side by side. I think they bought it whatever.
yeah,
But yeah,
they're
look
not
at that. I
buying
mean,
off.
you have a dump bed. You have basically the cabin space of a midsize truck, right? So or
Well,
the old
it'll
hard body
turn
truck.
in just a second. Here it is. So there's this. I guess it was a K&M. So I mean, it was a long bed.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it didn't have the depth, obviously, that the trucks do, but it does have a spot where you can put the old 2x4 posts or whatever. You could put a rack up and carry more. But no, I was surprised with side by sides, and of course, I didn't expect this conversation to go to side by sides, but it is kind of topical
Yeah.
because the price of these things compared to everybody wants a $20,000 pickup truck. Well, guess what? Now those are side by sides
Well,
because these things are
Look
ridiculously
at Dust
expensive.
Betty's comment. Holy cow!
Oh no! So in my video, I priced one that was 40 grand.
There's a
It
forty
had
thousand
it
dollars
had
side
roll
by
up
side.
windows. Tim, it had roll up like electric windows.
Oh my god! Yeah, so I know side by sides in some cases. I didn't realize it was $45,000 case, but that's what I told the Ford engineers. I said, look, I said you get a Maverick that gets 40 miles per gallon front wheel drive. You have air conditioning, you have heat, you have power windows, you have a radio. I mean, for $20,000 versus this side by side. What was that?
Yep.
39,599.
Yep. Tim,
Wow.
you need to go through your local motorcycle shop that sells these and just go look.
Yeah,
It's eye opening.
my cousin works at the store that has some of these down the road, but I don't know. It was interesting. Mm.
But what the tech that some of them have too is ridiculous, man. Like I think this is the same one. Like it had a full touch screen. Like it's ridiculous everything you get. Now, I will say they are for the price you pay for these. I mentioned it in this video of it's chintzy, like that little you can't see it now, but some of the plastics are just like the glove box. Like you're like, I could just rip this off with no problem for 40 grand. But no, it's definitely was eye opening, and I like to do this once a year just to see
Yeah, I
what is out
should have
there.
filmed. So up in the Black Hills, which is about 3 hours from me, they have a ton of off road trails that are side by side only, basically side by side and four wheelers and dirt bikes stuff like that. So I rented one a couple years ago with the family and took all
Mhm.
the wife and kids out, and I rented it for 4 hours, half day, and after 2 hours, my kids were like, "Okay, we're done, Dad." Like, no, I have 2 more hours to go. I paid for it. We're gonna get time out of it. And I was like, okay, fine. So
Yeah.
I should have
So
filmed that
here
because it's basically as Mark points out. Why wouldn't you get a FX4 Maverick at that point? I would. Yeah, that's
Oh,
why.
100%. Yes, 100%. I mean, I think these are more capable if you wanna go off the beaten path, but no, this one here I think was like 36,000 and those were real glass, and the windows were electric. I kid you not, they were electric windows.
Huh.
I was like, "Holy cow, this is a car."
Yeah, it basically is. So wait a minute. I
But
got a question.
ah,
Where'd you go?
I'm here.
Okay, turn your camera back on. I do have one question in that video. Why did you wear your overalls to
Can
these
you
side
hear
by
me,
side?
Tim?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, because it was 0.
You
And
wimp.
basically, I like to wear overalls just to not if I'm out in dirty conditions. That way I don't have to worry about I can just pull them off. My clothes are clean.
Okay, so let me talk a little bit while you figure out your camera issue because you're ridiculous. I'm just looking at some of these comments. I think everybody kind of agrees that side by sides are getting expensive, but they have replaced the midsize, the compact truck. Oh, you guys talk about Mahindra Jeeps yet? No, I actually saw a Mahindra Jeep in Wyoming, a town in Torrington that's only about 45 minutes from here. There's one downtown. I think they sell a couple of them at dealership there. There's like not dealership, but a Tractor Supply store that has them. And then there's one that's been driving around. It is a really interesting thing because Mahindra is a really cheap, cheaper, more expensive, less expensive vehicle than the Jeep Wrangler is. But it's a very interesting thing. What did you do? Yeah, he's.
So my dog just laid down on the camera plug and turned it off.
Yeah, so I've seen. Remember, I remember back. He left the show again. I remember Mahindra being sued by Jeep and having all those stories about Mahindra being sued by Jeep, and it's just.
Oh yeah, it looked just like a little Jeep.
It does. When I drove by, I was like, wait, is that a Jeep or is that a Mahindra? Because yeah, I don't know. Everybody, I want to say this very carefully. People want smaller, cheaper, more usable. Why don't people build this? And then I see it time and time again. They go get in it, and it's like, oh, well, I really don't want that. It just, what you think you want versus when you actually see what you think you want and you get in it, the opinions change quickly. Well, and not everybody, but a lot of people I've talked to have done that.
Yes. No, there's, I mean, that's a big thing now, with people wanting to order vehicles. When I ordered my Bronco, never saw it. was like a wing and a prayer. Like you better go to some of the car shows, which is, we'll be at here coming sooner. I know I will, but are you going to Chicago?
I'm going to Chicago.
Okay. So guys, go to car shows are dying. So if you really are interested in buying a vehicle, what a great way to sit in them, understand what you're ordering before you get them. And guess what? There's no dealership pressure either. Like there is nobody sitting there trying to finance you from this vehicle. You just get to kind of play with them and enjoy the vehicle. So little plug for car shows. I hate to see they're dying, but
right. I want to go back to your I want to talk about your Ford Ranger build.
Ooh, I like talking Ford Ranger talk.
Yeah, because you got a notification from Ale, who's your dealership person, who's been on your show many times. Nice person. About what was the story? It's production now, allocated now.
It's in schedule for production. So yeah. So here's what it looks like.
And so scheduled. Yeah. Okay. Scheduled.
So yes. Yeah, so the thing with ordering vehicles, like we were talking just a minute ago, is I like the fact now that they've sort of learned from pizza places, delivery places, and give you these kind of trackers. Hey Tim, can you turn down your volume just a hair?
Yeah,
I'm hearing. Anyways, they give you these trackers on this, so here you can see where I'm at, and any of my Ford people know, following my adventures with Bronco and Mustang. This is how Ford does it. So when the dealership's build is scheduled, all of a sudden it activates this. So you can see where the order was confirmed. Now my order was different, but Ranger Raptor was a screwed up thing from Ford, where in May we ordered them as orders. Suddenly Ford's like, oh no, they have to be retail orders. Then suddenly by July, they're like, oh no, they can be normal orders again. So it kept flipping my order date, but I ordered 2 of them. I have 2 Ranger Raptors on order because of all this screwed upness. And I kind of wanted to talk about that because this is what we got confirmed, but I ordered one in this shelter green, and I ordered one in the and Tim, we got to see both of these colors in person. And both were in Raptor form. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to Allie, whichever one pops, that's the one I have to take. And so we were kind of having fun with which color will I end up with? Well, I kind of got ended up getting the color I wanted, which was the shelter green. But yeah, so ordering a vehicle was pretty interesting. I will say good dealerships will keep you up to date. Ford will keep you up to date ever so slightly. Every 45 days, they supposed to send an email out saying, "Hey, you're not built yet," or you're not scheduled yet, or we're having production issues. Is the BS they tell you. But it's always fun. Now it's not fun for Allie because, and I would probably do this to any salesperson, but I'll hey did I'll email them all the time. Hey, did my order get pulled yet? What's going on? What's going on? And I don't suggest doing this to any salesperson is bugging them because you're not their only person they have to work for. But it was fun. I got my VIN. As you can see, the last time this was updated. So if you check this out, you can see where you're at with Ford. I know Chevrolet does the same thing with theirs a little bit. They're all slightly different. I've seen with TRD John, he has one. Toyota even tells when it gets on the truck, which is very interesting. So he's got a video. I think it was the one that we just brought up that he talks about, pulls up his just like this of where his truck might be. It's fun. It makes it a little more stressful because you're like, where's my truck? Why haven't this moved? Why haven't this moved? And I know a lot of people that have their Rangers built, but Tim, you what is it? Mid-March is when the press drive is we were talking about?
Yeah, mid-March the press drive. I don't like the flickering on my screen. We're having technology issues. I'm gonna switch from off my Wi-Fi to my standard wired internet. So I might be right back.
But so if you look at this, it gives you your VIN. So that's cool. Order numbers and all that stuff you need to make it searchable. But having the little tracker here is a lot of fun. And somebody, let's see, Mark was asking, did I pay ADM? No, I did not have to pay ADM. It's if you search good dealerships. Yeah, you're still here.
Okay, so
if you search good dealerships, they're out there. There's a lot of dealerships that just want to move metal. They're not into making home runs on every purchase. They're just there to move it. And luckily, I like to generally the big three I try to buy in Michigan because everybody works for these companies. So a lot of the dealerships just want to turn vehicles because of that, because there's nothing special really about vehicles up there in Michigan. So yeah, and I figure we'll get it faster that way as well. My Mustang wasn't the first to be built, but I ended up being one of the first in the country to get one because Allie's dealership, Brighton Ford in Brighton, Michigan, is only like 40 minutes away from the plant. So it tends to help when ordering. But I see a lot, Tim. I see a lot of people. I'm sure you've seen it when Toyota, it seems like there is you pay the Toyota tax. Definitely. Oh my God, I can't find a dealership that won't charge $10,000 overage. But guys, you got to do the work, man. Don't in this day and age, you're allowed to fly anywhere around the country and buy a vehicle. Yeah. It'll cost you the same tax wise because generally you pay the sales tax for your state and your county where you register it. And just it's a lot of fun too, man. You've done it, Tim, when you got that Toyota Tundra. It was fun to fly for me.
I've never bought a vehicle from my local dealership here. I've always flown places and bought it. And
I remember you looked at some. I remember during the pandemic, you were going through the lots, kind of looking at what you should buy.
Yeah, I was trying to buy something that year. And buying a Ford F-150 that year, I was able to get one out of the stockpile that was built up around the plant there because they were low on parts. But you drive around, shop around. Don't pay ADM unless you absolutely have to. My neighbor paid ADM did a markup on his Bronco, but he waited like 2 years trying to find one. He finally found one. He wanted to end up paying like $3,000 over sticker just because he was like, I'm just done with it. I'm sick of it.
$3,000. I hate to say anything over MSRP is bad, but at the end of the day, $3,000. You're probably, if you're trading something in, you're going to lose that anyways. I guarantee you're not making money on a trade. So you could think of it that way. If you're just buying it out, it's like, well, it's a trade without a trade.
And I was going to go back to another comment that came up. Interesting comment. He said, Ragnar said, why do you have to have press come out and do videos if the manufacturer can do videos on their own? And because it's marketing from the manufacturer and they can tell you everything that's great about it. Journalists tell you what you actually need to know. Is it good? Does it drive well? It's real information that I feel like it's very useful. My goal is always to make informed consumers. Like I want you to be an informed consumer. So what can I give you for information that helps you in your purchase? That's my goal. That's why I exist, in my opinion. So,
thanks, Fubar Medic. Thanks for jumping by my stream as well. I do greatly appreciate that, guys. If you're new, or if you're on Tim's, and you like what we do, come check out my channel and subscribe if you don't mind. We'd greatly appreciate that. And I would say if you're on my channel and you have no idea who Tim is, you're crazy for one, because look at the little silver button behind him. That means
Oh
he's
yeah.
somebody. Oh, other side. There you go, Tim. There you go. Next to his, I love that you put that next to Rocky.
So I have the Rocky quote. It's from The Life Beat You Down. It's from the Balboa movie.
Mhm.
And I saw that at a flea market, or no, it was a mall. I One time in 10 years I've been in the mall, and they were selling those outside, and I just had to buy it. It was like 30, 40 bucks. It just, I had to have it. Yeah, the
Dave has
button
play
movie.
button envy. You know why I have play button envy? Because that's when I'm full time. That's why the envy. I don't have to wear those coveralls anymore. There you go.
Well, yeah, it was interesting. People always ask me, like, you do this from home? Yes. You do this full time? Yes. This is my job, 6, 7 days a week. It does, I always forget what day it is. I always have to remind myself what day it is,
Yeah.
because every day for me is Monday. I can work every day. It's just whatever it's going to be.
Well, that's
Um,
been with me this week because I've been stuck at home because of the weather. And yeah, I literally didn't realize this was Saturday. I think I was asking you about something football before we started and didn't realize, like, oh, this isn't Sunday. Like, I don't know what day it is.
right. Yeah. Ragnar, that does happen. He says that maybe it's cheaper just to have a media day for your vehicles and fly people out. They do that.
Yeah, Toyota's big on that, right?
Toyota does it. BMW has a BMW Fest every year. Ram used to do it every year at their proving grounds. They used to bring all the vehicles out and all the journalists
Oh, that's
out.
right. I remember that.
That was a great event. I liked it a lot. So yeah, they do that stuff. Getting behind the scenes a little bit, but we have another question. Ben and Beta has a question, which, by the way, Ben's got a nice little YouTube channel that's growing. Check that out. He's got some GoPro stuff on there. He's doing he's getting into overlanding, which is, it's
Nice.
fun to watch because it's not something he's ever was doing, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, I want to overland." And he's got a Hyundai Tucson he was overlanding with. He's actually buying a Tacoma right now, but the overlanding the Tucson is a pretty interesting idea. He says, for the both of you, what would make first drive event more useful for you as journalist creators? Um, so let me explain this, because it seems like uh, it seems like this is the topic we're heading into. So behind the scenes, so media event, so the GX drive, it happens different waves. Jill and I are on the Tuesday through Thursday wave. So I arrive about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. I have a couple hours of free time. I'll probably hit the gym, as I typically do at events, because I have airport jet lag, so I need to work out my brain, get the brain fog away. Right? No,
Yeah.
I'm like treadmill, fat man, a treadmill thing. You have dinner, you have drinks. Next day, you get up, and I'll have breakfast, presentation. I'll get in the vehicle. I'll drive to the lunch spot. Jill and I will swap. We get the lunch spot. They'll have other GXs there with maybe an off-road trail. And so then you do those off-road trail drives. You film. They'll probably have a static display, or maybe of the powertrain or the chassis, static display of the chassis. And then you drive. Then you get back in the vehicle. You drive back to the hotel. You have dinner, drinks. Next morning, you get up and you fly out. So it's not like people always, like, when I go to places, they're like, "Oh, were you there? Check out this restaurant. Check out this, or look at that." I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's all pre-scripted, if you were. I mean, every once in a while, people will go off script. They'll go see a game. They'll go do something. General Motors Jeff's great about that. I just don't. I'm at the event. I'm doing this thing. I'm at stuff like that. So what happens then at those events is you just don't have the time. You're in and out of vehicles. You're talking to engineers. You're talking to marketing as much as you can, in and out, and then you're competing, right? So that trip's going to be, John's going to be there. I think a couple other people are going to be there. I'll have the same wave with Roman and Tommy from TFL Truck. I'm on their same program. So, they're trying to film vehicles. I'm trying to film vehicles. Automakers have done different things. They try to do video only waves, because video people take longer. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't work. You're just trying to film the best you can. And so you come back with what I consider an incomplete video, because it's like having an appetizer course. You have an appetizer course that goes around, and everybody gets a chance at the appetizer, and then you don't get the main course until you get it for a week for a loan, right? And then if you get so I'll get the GX this year as a press loan. The next year I get another GX. Next year, So after the following years are like the dessert. Like now you're looking at what additional things you can find that you didn't have in the main course that you
Yeah.
didn't experience in appetizer. So
The
I've
press
done,
loans,
and
the
the thing is,
7-day press loans.
well, yeah, and they can't. And from a first drive aspect, it's hard to make it any better because you can't stay another day. You can't stay another 2 days because I have to fly another event. You know, like these
Yeah.
people, like there was before COVID, we had a lot more events, and we're getting back to that. But there's 3 to 4 events in a week, and I know people that are different outlets that's their job, and they end up going to uh, event to event to event. I've had people do a drive, and after lunch they have to leave to get a shuttle to go back to the airport to fly to do another event. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that happens all
Well,
the
our
time.
buddy Corey was in LA, then he had to fly to Northern California for another event and then fly back through a winter storm. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
So
nightmare.
and then so you're in the airport, you're trying to get your video together, you're trying to get your story together, you're trying to get thoughts together, you're downloading photos, you're downloading stuff, you're editing the photos, editing stuff, and then by the time you get home, I try to get all my work done on the road. By the time I get home, I'm working on the next vehicle, the next thing.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. And then you get people the problem is people don't understand that, and then they want to ask you detailed questions about that first drive you have, and it's like you just can't. I just
Yeah. And is
you try
anybody
hard.
ever talked about the airport in a good fashion? Like you never hear like family vacations like, "Oh my god, the airport was amazing." You're like, you know, like think about this. Then you're at least 2 times at an airport.
Well, yeah,
And like Tim said, you're trying to get your thoughts together.
well, it's always funny because every time you land, there's usually somebody there to greet you, and they put you on a shuttle or they put you in a vehicle, whatever.
Mhm.
Every event's a little different, but they're always like, "How's the flight?" I'm like, "I spent 2 hours on silver tube."
Yeah.
Like it's aluminum tube, I think is what we call it these days. It's like it's the same thing. Like,
With the
and
door
there's some
open.
journalists I know that geek out about what that flight they're on. Like, I flew in a 737, or I flew in a 777, or I flew in this. I don't care about airplanes that much, but I have gotten better about airplanes, knowing what they are, because
Mhm.
I know what seats suck. And
Yeah.
so when I go to choose my seat, I'm like, I don't want that one. I want this one. Because you learn whatever. But
Well, I know for you, you're brand loyal for rewards and stuff, but I'm generally Southwest, and I love Southwest that you can just run basically to your seat, or if you know get your boarding early. But I try to hit the damn emergency exit unless I'm going to Alaska Air. I'm not doing that anymore. If I'm going to Alaska Air, I'm not having their door open mid-flight. But
right.
past that, I'm a Southwest guy that likes that extra room if I can get it.
Yeah, I mean, we all play the game. Like, I'm United because United Service here is in town, and I have United cards, and I have the
Mhm.
United Club. I bought the United Club because I have long layovers, and trust me, as much as I travel, having a quiet club with free food and good Wi-Fi, it's worth it. I know it's
Yeah.
like $600 a year. It's expensive, but I've been trapped in airports for 6, 7 hours, and it's so worth it.
I've
It's
answered his phone calls when he's trapped there, and he's had a couple shots. I'm just gonna say.
usually, yeah, because what else I have going on? I have nothing else going on. So I mean, that's
I'm playing. But no, like for the Ford event the last one I got to go to was like they're in and out. They don't play around. Some manufacturers, I know Nissan usually wines and dines you pretty well. Might some of them like to do little gift baskets, which I think's goofy. I don't need to be bought off. I'm not. It doesn't influence anything. I'm going to
no, I
than you
don't.
about the brand.
I
Other than the
give that
fact
stuff
that
away. That's why I've been giving away the
yeah.
hats. I just give it away.
Other than that, like I'm there to do a job like SEMA. I went to SEMA a couple years ago, and I'm
Yeah.
probably going this year. I'm not there to party in Vegas. I'm there to get my work done and get out of Vegas. Like, for one, I'm not a Vegas guy. Two, I don't need any distractions, and I'm sure that's a big thing with you, Tim. I'm there to do a story. I'm working. I'm not there to party.
Yeah, it's always like I travel with a few people that don't travel very often, and you always tell the newbies. Newbies always arrive and they're like, "Oh my god, this is great! Look at the location." They're like, right.
Yeah.
And I was probably that way too when I first started, but now I arrive and I'm like, okay, it's another fancy hotel, it's another tropical climate or another desert climate, whatever we're doing that day.
Mhm.
It's like it. You get bitter, and that's too bad. Ragnar, do you guys prefer auto shows or the media events?
They're 50-50. Like they're completely different things.
Right. I mean, I like auto shows because we do a lot of comparisons at auto shows, and it's great to see the trucks together or get 3 or 4 different trucks together. And so, I get one vehicle a week basically. Sometimes I get two because there's two press fleets in Denver. That's
Mhm.
that's it. So doing comparisons is really hard. I can't go to a dealer because dealers don't know really how to deal with me, and it's always
Yeah.
awkward. So I don't like borrowing vehicles either because it's
I'm
just
always
weird.
jealous of those brands. Like I know Doug DeMuro did it. I know our friend Corey with GT does it. They have dealerships they get to work with, and I'm always jealous of that interaction. Like, hey, can
Yeah,
I
I
come
mean,
get
I
a
my
vehicle?
so the ones in town have told me I can come get a vehicle whenever I want and I can do things. But the thing is, they carry the same thing, just
Yeah,
different trims, and I don't find
especially
trim
in your area.
comparisons. Yeah, it's my area. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
don't find trim comparisons to be very interesting. You can do the same thing online with Build and Price Tool. Like I
yeah.
don't find that very interesting at all. Yeah, I
So
that
for me, Tim, for me, because you've done this, let me jump in and see if you are different. So auto shows to me are great because for one, you get to, you can open them up. You can't drive them for the most part. Sometimes manufacturers will have some things, you can get a press loan or something like that. But but you can get all the touch feels. You generally get a lot of time with the vehicle. Other than the fact the guy keeps coming wiping down in your shot, wiping the car down.
it's annoying.
And then you get the problem I do have is then you get the written journalists who like to get in your shots purposely to kind of screw your stuff up because they're I don't know if it's a jealousy thing or what. They see that industry dying. Did you see Sports Illustrated is dying? Like that's
Yeah, it's
going
cool.
away basically. Like those people are scared for their jobs, which is understandable, but they will be jerks. And I had one at Chicago last year, would purposely kept getting in my shots. I was talking. They literally, Kelly was holding the camera 5 feet from me, and they purposely walked right in between the door of me sitting in the car to ruin what I was doing. So there's that factor of that. I mean, there's a lot of pluses to the auto shows as well. I like the after the fact because there's no schedule. So if I want to hang out with Tim, have a couple drinks, go do something, we can do that. Me and Kelly, we like Chicago pizza, so I want to go get
Yeah.
some of that. I don't have any pressure of being forced somewhere. Now with the couple press events that I've gotten to go to, it's scheduled. Nissan was very scheduled. Ford's been very scheduled. They have a timeline because, like Tim said earlier, they have another wave coming through. They don't have time. When I did the Ranger Raptor reveal, I was the last person to leave that. I was, and it's because
Yeah, I think
I
I went
waited
right in front
as
of you.
long as I could around the vehicles to get as much information. And finally, Ford was like, "Look, you got to be at the airport in an hour. Like, we got to get you out of there." So for me, there's pluses and minuses to both of them.
I think the thing that as Ragnar pointed out, you can get more videos done at an auto show, sort of. Not every automaker is at an auto show, so you don't get all the different videos you may want.
Well, yes,
I've gone to auto
obviously true.
shows and I thought, well, I'll do this video, do that video. You kind of pre-game it a little bit, and then the automaker's not there, so you can't do that video. And it's like, oh crap. And so, like, you tend to shoot on the fly and do the best you can. And sometimes the videos turn out good, sometimes the videos turn out terrible. SEMA
What you
last
did with
year,
the
I had
Avalanche,
audio
I mean,
issues. It was
the
terrible.
Silverado EV. So what happens on press days too for you, you got to get with the engineers. They're
That's what I
actually
was
for
gonna say.
press days. They're actually there. Where they
So
won't be for
yeah,
normal auto shows, but
auto shows engineers don't go to. Very
yeah.
rarely they go to auto shows. So when you go to a media event, you can talk to engineers, talk to marketing. The other thing that's great with media events too is um, eavesdropping. like, like I have some really smart colleagues, and I'll be honest. There's sometimes I stand there and just listen to them talking,
Yeah.
and I pick up on things. And at an auto show, it's just like it's chaos. Like it's a big giant room, everybody's running around, right? So you see somebody, hey, how you doing? You have a quick like 2 second talk. You wave at them. There you go. You're gone. That's your interaction with colleagues. At a media event, you end up having lunch together, end up having dinner together, and so I like that, and also airports as well. I've had times where I've been in the airport when we've literally been all in the United Club because we all buy passes, different things, and just shooting the shop talk. What
Mhm.
camera are you using? What are you doing with audio? How's your stuff turning out? What are you doing for photos? It's like it's sometimes that is very useful as well because
Mhm.
um we all like I'm in Nebraska, Dave's in Tennessee, right? So we're not sitting around having coffee. So
I
you're not
wouldn't
like
have
sharing
coffee,
and doing
so
stuff, right? So it's like, yeah, you don't even drink coffee, but it's like one of those situations where you can't there's no shop talk. And
yeah.
I have friends at Car and Driver, I have friends at Motor Trend. I love seeing all those guys and talking about what they're doing. And it's interesting when you look at like a Car and Driver or Motor Trend, um, they're trying to figure things out too. Like they're trying to do SEO, they're trying to do social media, they're trying to figure out how to do the videos better. Like I would think that, oh, they're so big they don't worry about this. No, they really do worry about this stuff, and they really try to figure things out as much as I do. So Like, I don't consider myself competitive with them because my work I think is different. I like what I'm doing. I don't always agree with what they're doing. I'll just put that out there. But from an outlet standpoint, a media company standpoint, very much sharing details and very much doing the competitive nature for the average viewer. I mean, we're
Yeah.
definitely competing. Like we talk about thumbnails, we talk about video topics, we talk about, and then a lot of times I don't watch as much YouTube as I probably should. I don't read as much people's stuff as I probably should. But every once in a while, a video comes out or a story comes out that's really good, and I'll either mention it in my podcast or live stream, whatever. Or I'll make sure I read it or I'll watch a video. And when you're in person, you're like, hey, I really thought that was really interesting way you did this, and then you get that. Then it's like, how'd you come with that idea? And then they can explain it. So it's you get that in person stuff you can't really get at an auto show.
Yeah. So Tim, we
Yeah.
had a good question pop up here, and it's kind of off topic now, but I don't want to forget about this. So,
Oh yeah. It's not really off topic. This live stream just turned into this whole
I know.
Sorry.
Well, mostly it's because we don't get to BS with each other as much as we probably like. Off topic, but current. He's looking for a 24 Tacoma iForce versus iForce Max. Should he wait for the hybrid? That's been kind of brings us back to where we started. You were talking earlier that you were waiting for a Trail Hunter, basically, but Trail Hunter only comes with the iForce Max, man. Which would you? I've been a little. I think I talked to John about this last week. I was a little surprised when Toyota came out with such weak horsepower numbers. Now, I know they'll brag about torque and stuff, and with turbo engines, yes, you get a lot of torque, which is cool. But I still feel like I haven't got to drive the truck yet, and I know you have, and you've told me, hey, it just seems like a cool truck. It drove fine, but I still feel like it's a disappointment that Toyota didn't near the 300 horsepower range. But with the iForce Max, you're getting 328, something like that. So a little more spunky vehicle.
I I've gone through the same discussion and in my head, and I've decided to buy the hybrid, and then I decided to Trail Hunter because why not if you're gonna go that route anyways. I decided to buy the hybrid for two. I would buy a hybrid over the gas for two innocuous reasons. I think it's kind of interesting that people don't always realize. You don't have to deal with start stop. So start stop is a feature in all trucks. It's all SUVs. Everybody, it turns the engine off at stop signs and stop lights. It is probably really useful in certain circumstances as far as sitting in traffic downtown LA or someplace. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Manufacturers get EPA credits because of that start stop. It's a great thing. They love it. EPA loves it. Consumers hate it. When you have a hybrid powertrain, the engine will turn off, and then but you still electric mode. So it's off, but there's no hesitation. So it's a dumb thing, but I think over the course of ownership, I know so many people get in the truck and they turn it off, auto start, stop off completely. There's a lot of lingering feelings about it's going to destroy the starter. No, it's going to destroy the diesel engine. It's not good for it. No, like it's fine. There's no mechanical reason why start stops can destroy anything. We've had start stop now for a decade. We've never heard a story like that.
They've beefed up the starters on these things.
Yeah, the start. I mean, my goodness, it's like the starters these days are massive and they're ready to go. I mean, there's no issue there, but it's that annoyance thing. I think that's the key. The second thing reason is to your point about horsepower and torque numbers. The hybrid is just going to feel faster, and it's just going to feel more powerful. It's just going to. So if I were to have a choice, I would do it. People get concerned with hybrid because of all of the technology and the wiring and the extra battery and extra maintenance. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see the concern with the hybrid setup. The iForce is just a hybrid. That's the marketing term for it, by the way, Ragnar. I could see people's viewpoint on that, but again, we've had hybrids now for decades, and I've never heard of bigger issues with hybrid versus gas. I've never heard that anywhere in automotive speak. So
I mean, eventually, I'm assuming eventually you need to replace a battery, but guess what? That's probably 15, 20 years into the life cycle. And I don't really think, for one, I don't think the government wants vehicles lasting that long anymore. I think not for conspiracy reasons. I think for reasons of, look at it, the whole smog thing, catalytic converters and stuff from the 70s. There's reasons why there's benefits to not keeping vehicles on the road as long as they used to be. I don't care about the forced EV, whatever, because I think clearly we've seen that that's not going to happen in the next 20 years. But I think that they would like turn over vehicles for safety reasons, for one thing, because safety tech's always getting better and better. So they don't want a life cycle of vehicle to maybe be a little shorter.
I think, yeah, people like it, but the average fleet age keeps growing. So the average fleet age for the U.S. fleet is like 12 years now, which is the average vehicle on the road. So, but I think consumers want it too. It's it's interesting. I had a guy stop by. He had like a 2005 Land Cruiser, and he got in the 2022 Tundra, and he was just blown away by it. And I'm like, if you and I tell
Come
people,
to the
like,
future.
if you've never been in a new vehicle, you're going to be shocked, absolutely shocked at how much more quiet it is, how much more powerful it is, how much more technology it's got, how much more features it has. How much my friend came over, checked out the Grand Highlander, and his Ford has a heated steering wheel. His F-150 Ford, his wife drives a 4Runner without a heated steering wheel, and he's like, yeah, my wife is like totally jealous of my heated steering wheel, especially when it's negative degrees.
Tim, imagine
like,
the 4Runner guy. Imagine a guy that bought a 4Runner a couple years ago jumping into the Land Cruiser that's about to happen, or the next generation 4Runner. They're going to be like, when did this happen?
Right. And it's like, and it's funny because I've had people push back and say heated steering wheel is just for sissies. You don't need that. And I'm like, obviously you've never tried it.
So
once you try it, you're like, holy crap, I need this.
You don't need roll-up powered assist windows, but guess what? They
Right.
don't build them with manuals anymore either.
Well, and I had one guy out of all my Tacoma comments, one guy said, he goes, I think they completely screwed up the Tacoma. Everything about it, just new Tacoma is terrible. And I'm like, the only time I've ever seen that, gloves are cheap. Only time I've ever seen, because when you look at vehicles, yeah, there's things you don't like, but I had that Lexus RX 350. We did a comparison, the old versus new, and I didn't talk about the engine at all because to me, it's like you have a V6 versus a turbocharged engine. Well, the turbocharged engine is going to feel faster, more powerful. It's just going to feel like, but I didn't think it was that. I thought it was no brainer, but boy, I got my ass handed to me in the comments because people were like,
Toyota guy,
V6 more reliable, more like this. And I'm like, but I go back in time. I'm like, people always say like the 5.7 liter V8 was just bulletproof. No, it wasn't. It had a lot of problems when it first came out. Like we're so like we tend to forget these things so quickly, and it's like V6s when they first came out, a lot of problems. Inline sixes, people are like, that's the best engine ever. My inline six crapped out on my 62. I had to replace it, like because it was not a good engine.
When you're still, let's be honest, 62, if you had 50,000 miles on it, that was the life expectancy.
No, and you're absolutely right. That brings up another point. People are like, well, I don't think somebody said, I don't think a turbocharged engine is going to last 200,000 miles. I'm like, man, when I was a kid, 100,000 miles, that was the cutoff.
Yeah.
100,000, it was to the junkyard. Right, new engine, new transmission going in. So
my dad's 77 Silverado, he rebuilt that thing 3 times.
Right. I mean, it's like 200,000 miles. If you drive 12,000 miles a year, that's like, I think I did the math. It's like 17 years. That's a long time to have a vehicle. 17. I remember my uncle had a Bronco, the real Bronco, back in the day. Bronco.
Thanks.
And he went through 2 engines on that. 2 to 3 engines because the engine technology back there wasn't very good. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I just sold it. And I said, why you sold it? He goes, well, I had it for like 16 years. I just kind of got bored. And I'm like, yeah, I mean,
I really think though, if you want an example of what we're talking about, look at a current generation of a 4Runner and how fast that when they bring the next one out, technology is going to be 20 years gap. I think because that vehicle's so old feeling. Yeah, it has backup cameras that are awful. But I took some heat in a video about that of somebody was commenting about, oh man, the tech in that 4Runner is great. And I was like, clearly you haven't been in a new vehicle. And nothing against the 4Runner because that thing is a workhorse dinosaur that's did Toyota very well. But if you think that's the peak of technology, you ain't seen nothing yet, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I also talk about like emissions and stuff. It's like, to your point earlier, it's like I said to my neighbor, he stopped by because he wants to talk about EVs with me because he's not an EV guy. And I said to him, I said, if you want to really save the planet and that's your goal, go buy a new truck. And he looked at me weird. I'm like, new trucks emit a lot less emissions than older trucks do. So if you really want clean air and clean water and clean, stop rising temperature, all that kind of stuff that's part of the global warming, go buy a new vehicle.
Oh,
That's
100%.
I mean, that's and they're just like, it's confusing to people because it's. And I said, well, don't go buy an EV and go park it in your garage and just drive around town because that's actually causing more pollution. Go buy a new ICE vehicle, a gas vehicle, or a hybrid as well. Go buy a new hybrid vehicle and just drive the hell out of it.
Mhm.
That hybrid vehicle versus what was 10 years ago emits 40 to 50% less emissions than it was. So, if that's really what you're into, just go buy a new vehicle because new vehicles are much more reliable and much more emissions. And this is an interesting thing. That Jill and I talked about this live stream on Wednesday. People keep asking me a lot about what engine should I get? What engine, so Chevy
It's been
comes
in the
in,
comments today. Yeah.
yeah, four different engines. Which engine is more reliable? Guys, when I've done the known problems, I do no problems posts. I look at NHTSA, I look at forums, I look at car complaints, I look at consumer reports. The engine's the least of your worries. It's really about transmissions. It's really about technology. It's really about the computer crapping out. It's about, I mean, that's where we're at these days. The
Oh,
engine
yeah.
by itself, the engine's not an issue anymore. Like, and people, I had a guy last night kind of go back and forth a little bit on the comments, which I shouldn't have done, but I was, whatever. Because I don't like to comment at night because I get kind of pissy. But he was talking about how he's like, it seems like journalists have a gag order about talking about engine lifter issues in the GM trucks
Oh my
because the
God. I
5.3 and
hear this
6.2
before.
have engine lifter issues. And so I said, okay. I said, look, I've been looking at this stuff for years. And I had a guy write a story 3 years ago about this. And I said, so where? He goes, well, it's on every forum. So I typed in a search Google. I Googled Silverado 5.3 liter engine lifter issue. What first forum that pops up is the ZR2, excuse me. Silverado ZR2. First forum pops up. All these comments going, it's not an issue. It's overblown. It's not an issue at all. Like it's comment. And then he goes, well, go to the Facebook group. You see it all the time in the GM Facebook groups. I'm like, I'm in the GM Facebook groups and I
Yeah.
never see it. Like the lifter issue won't go away because people keep regurgitating it in forums and such.
Well,
And then
Ford
I
with
said
the 2.7. Ford has an issue with the 2.7. They talk about that early Bronco production had 60 of them. And
Yeah.
I constantly still get videos. I would do the 2.3 over the 2.7 because it's a garbage engine. You're like, look, man, 60 in the scheme of things, and they sold I forget how many they sold the first 6 months. That is very minute, like 1-2%.
Right. I mean, the Tundra had the wastegate
Oh, the
issue.
gate
Yeah,
or
and I
the
did a video on how it wasn't a big issue, and I took a lot of crap in that video. And people are like, "They're going to recall everyone they built. There'll be a national recall. You just watch." Nothing happened. Now you don't talk
well,
about it,
and for
right?
people that want to be the first, we talked about earlier, you want to show off for your neighbors. You want to be the first. Guess what? Assumed risk. Like these manufacturers at no point said these vehicles are perfect. The first
Right. I
6
mean,
months are always they're flushing some bugs out.
and well, look at the Colorado Canyon. Colorado Canyon
Mhm.
have no engine problems. They
Yeah,
did have an entertainment system would crash and batteries would die. So
it
like,
wouldn't shut off.
right, it wouldn't shut off. So like, again, that's my point. Like people are so focused on engine and engine and engine. It's like that's not going to be the culprit. The culprit's going to be something else, or it's going to be something attached to the engine, right? So, and then so I said to the guy, he goes, well, he goes, the 6.2 Trail Boss, whatever, had a problem, and he goes, I just saw when the guy went in 2023, whatever, 15,000 miles, lifter issue. I said, okay, what did the dealership say? He didn't come back to me because I said, look, if you go look and read NHTSA reports or on forums, actually follow up with people, they will say it's the dreaded lifter issue. It's a dreaded lifter issue. And then the dealership come back and go, it's a sensor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's never, they just assume it's the issue when they take it in. They make a post about it. They're pissed off. I get it. You're pissed off.
Well,
I
is
totally get
that
it.
like we were talking earlier, where it's just the old 50,000 mile motor that's kind of the generations have grown up going, well, the motor crap, that's because they were so simple. And I hate to say a mechanical engine was so simple, but compared to what they are now, they were just so simple. You could point your finger at here's the problem where there was no computers, no sensors. Now, a lot of times, like you were saying, I've had Infinities where the I forget what sensor goes out. Common. It's a $20 part. Guess what? A Phillips screwdriver. unplug it, plug it in, put the new sensor in, done. Like in the olden days, that probably was a head gasket or something like that was going to be super expensive to repair. And the cool thing too is, and I know manufacturers don't want you working on your vehicles as much, but a lot of cases you can do it in your driveway. It's pretty, a lot of this stuff is pretty simple unless it's a
Yeah.
big computer issue. And forums are great for that. Like what Tim has with his forums. People are going to bitch about that a little bit. Hey, I'm having these problems. How did you fix it? A lot of people will especially the older school forums, like what Tim's doing now. There's always good debated information on there where somebody goes, that didn't work for me. And then you just read the forum, you read that thread, and you figure out over time, a year or so, the community weeds out that problem and
Mhm.
goes past the dealerships.
Yeah, I think it's great for sharing information like that. And I think, you know, people always talk about my 62 and they're like, do you love your 62? It's so easy to work on. I said, it is easy to work on, but then you're always working on it. That's a reliability there. I mean, but it's we just can't
Yeah,
get past that. And it's
think
and that's
about an
I
old
get it.
50s, 60s movie you ever see, and there's
Oh, yeah.
the husband, what's he always out in the movie? He's always out under the hood of a vehicle
Right.
trying to
Yeah.
keep it running.
Yeah, or he's taking his belt off to throw it over the fan, put in the timing belt, or I'll take my belt off, make that work, right? And you're like, I don't know about that one there, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I guess that'd be the one complaint I have about my job is that educating people to move past these known issues that they have is daunting and getting people to catch up. Like I pointed out, and the people got mad at me a little bit for pointing this comment out, but the guy had like a 2002 Tacoma, and he goes, "Did they fix this rear backup issue on the new Tacoma?" And I'm like, "You're talking two generations of vehicles, and so you're 20 years that you still had this one issue. Guess what? They fixed it because they don't make that vehicle anymore. It's gone."
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Seinfeld.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't it's like, it's like the issues that I appreciate it too. Like if you had a problem with your vehicle and you had to lemon law it or it was a big pain in the butt, you'll never forget that. I get it. You'll never forget
yeah.
that. But asking if the new vehicle has the same problem your older vehicle did, it's just maddening because of course they fixed it. They don't build it anymore. And I get that. I get that all the time. Like, did they fix this issue with that vehicle? And I had one guy asked something. Oh, I had one guy asked about this. This is funny. DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. I have a video on my channel where I interviewed a diesel exhaust fluid expert, and he talked about what it is and what you need to store it at and what's happening. And just a video that just keeps getting like 500 views a day or something. It just keeps going. It's just one of those nice
Right.
slow burn kind of videos. Maybe it has a couple thousand views now, a couple 100,000 views. And he said to me, he said it in the comments. He goes, uh, "Def is fine in the jug. Excuse me. You can't put the DEF jug in a Chevrolet truck. It doesn't work." And so I commented back. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, the nozzle doesn't fit, and you just end up spilling it all over the ground." And I'm like, "I own a Silverado, and I put DEF fluid in it all the time. It works fine."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, you just got lucky then."
I will be honest though, that the deaf thing pisses a lot of people off because of, it seemed to cause more issues than I
Well,
think maybe
yeah,
by now they've fixed that, but what was it, 2011, 12 somewhere is where it got
yeah. When it first came
mandated.
out, I mean, yeah,
Um,
when it first came out, there
the
was a lot of
regens and
unknowns. A
stuff.
lot of like, we don't need this crap, and it's EPA mandated, and and I've said to people like, the only reason we have diesel is because of DEF. So if you want a diesel, just deal with it. Like I don't
Yeah.
know how else to say it to you. Like we have to have it, and it
Yeah.
does reduce emissions. I've talked to diesel forum people, even the advocates, strong diesel advocates will tell you DEF does make a difference. I mean, it does work. If and it's interesting because now that I've owned a diesel for a year and I put DEF in it, my God, is it not a big deal? It's like adding a windshield wiper fluid. Okay, it's literally not a big deal at all. And I was surprised about that because I had never gone through the ownership experience like that. And now when people come to me and they're like, "DEF is a huge thing, huge pain in the butt. I can't stand it," and I'm like, it's not a big deal, guys. Like it literally isn't a big deal at all. Like, do I wish that they made the tank size a little bit bigger so you could put like two jugs in at once and just never mess with it? Sure, but it's not a big deal. Like it really isn't a big deal. I don't know.
Yeah. So last topic, Tim, I wanted to get this in there so people can start commenting. You did a story where a guy started modifying his brand new vehicle. You
Mhm.
what came out yesterday, something like that, and it got me thinking about, there's always the whole, oh, if you lift a vehicle, you do this, it's going to void the warranty and that. But there's only a couple times where I was like a little concerned. And what you brought up yesterday was talking about the diff breather on a rear axle. The guy was on a lot of vehicles, it's just this little plug. And the idea behind it is so you build up pressure, it gets hot from the gears running through the oil, it just builds up pressure, and you don't want to pop your seals on any part of the axle. So that's the idea behind that. And for off-roading, it tends to cause issues because those parts tend to wear faster than probably if they were just an on-road vehicle. And you dropped a video talking about this guy was a brand new ZR2, right?
Yeah, it's a ZR2. There's another video that I didn't comment because I didn't put on in that because it's just kind of funny. Which I should talk about that too. But you're right, low breather tube.
Mhm.
And I was surprised because I usually get questions like this. The question came from email. Let me just back up. So I get an email from a viewer who said, "Have you seen this? It's a known issue. It's a huge problem." And he linked to two videos. And I didn't even look at the videos. I just forwarded it on to Cherry Communications. I was like, I'm like, I didn't expect an answer. I really didn't expect an answer at all. And then they answered. He gave me a GM Communications talks to um, engineering, and it was gave me a good answer. And I was like, oh wow. So I thought, let me do a video. So I went and watched the other guy's video, and a younger guy, I think in Wisconsin, he was kind of killing me because he was in this big coat, sock cap, whatever, in a garage. It was cold, and he's drinking a beer. And I'm like, dude, I like
The
beer
math
and
on
all,
that
but
up there.
cold beer in a cold garage, but I don't know about that one. But that's the tube. It's a breather tube. And his point of view was he had watched another guy who was in the Everglades and came back and he saw the breather tube and he decided to take the rear diff off, drain it, make a longer tube, put new oil in. He did. And what's interesting with the first video, which I didn't put up, the guy's like, "Look at this thing. It's just so stupid. Dumb." And then come to find out that that guy was being dumb by taking it out because he didn't need a longer tube. But in this
Mhm.
case, he was adamant in longer tube, and that's why I didn't want to deal with that guy. The video wasn't that well. But people keep saying to me in the comments, like that guy from the Everglades who went off-roading with ZR2, his diff got full of water, and he had to change the oil.
Mhm.
But in that video, he never shows the oil. He never shows it full of water. He never proves that he did. All he proves is that he'd spent an afternoon wasting his time in the garage by taking the rear diff off and changing the oil. Like
Yeah.
there's no rational reason for why he did that.
I will say though, as somebody who's probably off-roaded a little more than you, Tim, it is something that if you're off-roading your vehicle a lot, there's extra maintenance to be. There's just
right.
part of it. There, you should expect that water's going to seep in somewhere, and yeah, you don't want a milky solution in your gears there. It's just not going to cool as properly as it should, and well, water tends to rust things as well, so you could wear out your differential a little bit. So please, if you don't ever expect like with my Ford Bronco, I don't go through big mud puddles and stuff expecting like, it'll last 100,000 miles. I don't have to do anything about it. No, probably going to have to maintenance these things a little faster than normal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a maintenance item. I think you have to pay attention to it, right? If it does.
Mhm.
Mobile talking about have you put an axle in water, the oil should be changed. Actually, you don't have to. It's got a membrane built into it that keeps water from going into the differential. The quote from the engineering was, "Look, we get this thing to where the differential is piping red hot, and then we toss it in an ice bath and see what breaks." And so it's interesting.
Well,
It's
but see,
so the thing too is I talked about is GM has to warranty this rear axle. So
yes.
obviously they're not going to make a design that wouldn't stand up to warranty, or they'd be replacing rear axles costing billions of dollars.
Well, I have seen that though from the enthusiast side of this. I will say I have seen where people pop rear seals and stuff in these things, and these will get clogged. I mean, I know GM tests the best way they can, but they're also not out there living with that vehicle for the next 5 years. Maybe like if it's a Jeep product, maybe that's all it sees is abuse, abuse, abuse. And so this is why it leads back to forums. People get on forums and like, hey, this was a common issue that I started having. That's how I fixed it. And this guy, this is kind of what he's going down, because I was telling you before the show, the Nissans, the little plugs on these things. I know that it's like, I believe it's a little ball bearing in there that'll pop up under pressure, and then it falls back down when there's no pressure. But there is always a chance, around, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. Let's see. Around right in here, that doesn't always seal as properly as it should. And there's a little metal plug that comes out of that. So a lot of people will take and extend this hose. I know with the Ford Everglade, the Bronco Everglades, that was a big deal of water forging. And that part of what it was is they extended some of the breather lines so it could be more capable at depth. But things overall, though, things just screw up sometimes. And maybe this guy did, maybe he didn't have water in it. It's a little odd that if he didn't show water in the differential that it was there, but not everybody is a complete YouTuber per se and knows, hey, show step by step. Here's, if you're going to do a story on it, show the whole story to the problem. I just and I really appreciate you where I paused it here. Look at your lips. Just but let's see. There we go. There's more smiling. But once again, to your forum, these are good things for where you can talk about this stuff on the forum. Like TFL, we're having that drainage issues, had maybe they've been to a forum and researched that a little bit. Obviously, for what we do, we need stories, but sometimes there's easy fixes to these things.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I didn't like the way it ended the video. I was kind of bashing on the guy a little bit just because I felt like he went too far with the do-it-yourself stuff, which is unfair to him. I shouldn't have done that. I apologize for that.
No, remember, not everybody's understands the creative side of this as you might,
right.
know, and you're a storyteller, obviously, so you're trying to tell the story. Where this guy, once again, he's in his garage. He's probably a better mechanic than I'll ever be, so it's easier for him to just know. Some people just know how to fix things, and they can't explain it as well. So, I mean, the guy's, once again, he's just trying to get the information out there.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because it's like, and the title of his video and title the other one kind of off-putting was, ZR2 buyers beware. So I did buyers beware in my title too because I thought it was interesting the way the wording was in that beware. But I think I'd also understand that it goes back to that question of if you're going to spend $60,000 on a new truck and then you're going to ask me what oil to put in it, like.
I hate those questions.
Like, I'm just mystified by this thought process. Like, so you trust the manufacturer with $60,000 of your dollars, but yet you don't trust that they've done any of the right oil analysis. You don't trust that Pennzoil and Shell have been in their offices and they've done oil testing together. Like, you don't trust. Like, so it's like you don't trust that the breather company is not working with engineers to make sure that rear diff breather works in a variety of climates and different situations. You don't trust that they spend 100,000 miles of lab analysis. They put it in it. They basically run it to 100,000, 200,000 miles, whatever. You don't trust that they've gone through the Everglades. You don't trust they have gone off road. You don't trust automakers. They have hell loops. They have places. They build off road tracks. They build they cake that rear differential in mud. Like there's literally there's jobs at proving grounds where you get there. Your assignment for the day is, okay, go break this, and come back. Like I had a guy ask me once not in the comments. One of the guys in the comments said, he goes, the Colorado jumps pretty well, but the Frontier jumps a little bit better, and the Tacoma really jumps pretty far. And I was like, what? And so I screenshotted it, shared it with one of the engineering guys. He goes, yeah, that's probably about right. I said, you guys jump trucks? He goes, yeah, we jump trucks. We roll them. We run them with no oil. We run them with no oil as long as we can. We wait to see what breaks. We crash them. We take and tear things off. It's like that's what they do. The thing is, like, the ZR2 has a different bumper than the Colorado has. You know why? Because GM broke the bumper. Like they literally took it on a Rubicon Trail and they broke the bumper so many times they actually decided to change the bumper. So I mean that's what happens. That's behind the scenes. Like automakers, it's so much cheaper for them to break something in development and fix it than it is to have something in when they're launching a vehicle. They'd much rather break it and then they know what's broken and they can go from there. And so we lost Dave yet again.
No, sorry, my stupid dog is laying right under my tripod for my camera, and he keeps moving it, and I got the way I have my monitors, the monitor was blurring in. Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't.
Ragnar points up. It's like this. It reminds me of the extended warranty questions. So you trust the manufacturer not to spend $6,000 a vehicle, but you also think you have major issues that warrants buying a pricey warranty. Like I get
Yes.
that question all the time. Like, and I'm just like, I don't know. I find it bizarre that we have that interesting that's the way the people are at this stage.
But it comes back to old manufacturing processes.
Yeah.
They're selling fear, and the fear was the old vehicles were bad. And
Yeah.
maybe for their times they were good, but guess what? Times are better. These manufacturers, even though for me in that off-roading, that segment, I probably would do what that guy did, knowing the abuse I'm going to put on that vehicle. But guess what, man? Like you said, they're building better vehicles. They're constantly improving. Guess what? The part manufacturer for that little tube, if GM says, "Hey man, we've had 10, 20 of these things with issues," guess what they're doing? They're going back and looking at it, and the next year they're going to improve that part. That's the cool thing with modern technology is now in the manufacturing processes, they can pivot now on a dime. Like they can, oh, we had a problem. Bam. It may not happen too as fast as I would like to see it. I know with some manufacturing, dog, I'm going to kill you. Some manufacturing was, doesn't happen. I know Ford Bronco had some issue where it didn't get fixed as fast as people would like, but guess what? They fixed it as fast as they could because it's all about branding now. You don't want your new Joy, your new vehicle that cost you probably $3 to $4 billion to develop now. You don't want that to get tarnished really quickly with a bad quality issue. So they want to fix these things as fast as possible.
Well, it's like the Tundra has the cracked seat, and I was talking. It's a seat panel on the side. I was talking to the chief engineer about it, the new chief engineer about it, and his seat cracked. And I said, why can't you fix that faster? It seems like it's a part, just swap the part. And he goes, you don't understand. I have to go to the supplier. The supplier's got to work up a new mock-up. We got to take the new mock-up. We have to go take it into our lab. We have to have it tested. We have to go through all the different testing. We have to go through all the lifeability, durability, reliability on this part. We have to figure out costs. We have to figure out where the cost is going to get into the vehicle. We have to go to manufacturing, figure out how it's going to get built in the plant. We have to do all this stuff to come out. So changing just the seat trim is probably going to be at least a year and a half to come out. So they want to break it before they get to that point because it's faster. They'd rather delay a vehicle and fix those parts before it comes out because recalls are expensive.
Yes.
Warranty repairs are expensive. They don't want that stuff, and they don't want the tarnished reputation. People always talk about like obsolescence, like building engines are going to die at some point. Like that's the plan because you don't want you to buy another one. I don't know a single engineer who wants to build something that's subpar. I know lots of engineers who hate when their company makes them cut a corner. Like they hate that. They always want to overbuild. Every engineer I know is proud of their work and proud of the part they built, and they want you to love the vehicle. When I bought the Duramax diesel, there's a video going around how it's planned to be obsolescence, and this guy put it. I was tear it on video, and I really haven't seen it. But I talked to the chief engineer before I bought it, and I was talking to him about different things. That guy was so proud of his engine, so proud of it, and he was proud of durability. He was proud of how long it's going to last. And people talk about the chain in the back, or the wet oil pump belt on the back. You have to service 150,000 miles, whatever. And he goes, yeah, it sucks. I hate it. He's like, I had to do it, but I hate it.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are like so mad at the engineer, and the engineer came on my channel and did a video, and he's like, I hate that. And so now we think the warranty now is 200,000 miles on the service on that, because he's like, we're trying to warranty that thing out further and further so you don't have to do it. But he goes, engineers, people think the engineers are to blame for everything. They all have bosses. They all have teams to work together. You're in
massive. They all have a budget,
and I know
within their budget.
Yeah, and engineers hate it. And so, like the breather pipe, the breather tube, if that was an issue and people really had a problem with it, engineers would be just it'd be a 6 a.m. meeting, mandatory Sunday morning meeting at headquarters. Everybody had to be there. That'd be that meeting because they do not want that stuff at all.
Yeah, Jim says he would buy a Colorado if he could find one. Yeah, they're the ZR2s are still, and then the new Bison is going to be even harder to find, but looks great.
Comes out. Yeah,
I'm still a little disappointed the Bison didn't get more power. I just would have thought. Of course, GM seems to be struggling with their options of motor with that, anyways. As far as what they just got rid of the basic, some
I don't like that they
mid-level
got rid of the
tune.
diesel. I don't. I thought the diesel was such a cool engine in that midsize truck.
Yeah, especially for the ZR2. Like the overlanding guy loves that
Yeah.
package, but it was expensive, and I get it. I am amazed though now diesels generally they seem to be cheaper when you can find one or the same price. Like there's not been back in the day, it seemed like, oh, you want diesel? Well, there's $6,000 to $8,000 more. Now it's almost some vehicles the same price as gasoline powered.
I remember when it was like 2016 or 17, whatever, when the ZR2 was in some thoughts. They actually showed a concept in LA at the auto show, and I was there. And we were like yelling at the PR team there to build it.
Yeah.
The entire week, the entire couple days we're there. It's just every time you pass them walking, build it, build it, build it. So, I mean, every journalist I know was saying the same thing to PR. And then they did the concept, and all of a sudden it was like, the comments for people were like, oh my God, you have to build a ZR2. Like the online comments were just all favor for it. And they told me that ZR2 was probably the fastest developed vehicle they've ever done, because all of a sudden the push from the consumers and journalists was so massive that they had to work overtime to get that thing built as fast as they could. That's why
the engine was done, right? Because that was just Indonesian.
Just an engine, yeah. So actually the first generation of ZR2 wasn't very good in comparison to the next generation of ZR2, because good as far as off-road capability and parts and things they used, not reliability. I'm talking reliability, that kind of stuff, but because they had more time. But when that first ZR2 came out, Chevy was like, holy cow. And the thing you got to remember is that at that time they had sold Hummer to they closed on Hummer and sold it. So they had one dude. Chevrolet Truck Engineering had one dude who knew to off-road. They actually, the chief engineer for the Colorado ZR2, turns out they took her and a couple other people to Moab and California to Rubicon Trail, and they did a whole off-road, like week-long class with these people.
I remember that,
because they had Chevrolet had no idea how the off-road was going to be. They had no idea. Like people think, well, Chevy knows off-roading; they're a big company. No. These companies are big in people terms, because majority of the company works at the plant.
Yeah.
The engineering team is like this, and the manufacturing team's like this, and then executives are like this. That's how this, it's the same idea. Well, like why doesn't Chevrolet software do better? They're not a software company. They're really good at building vehicles. They don't do software really well. Remember, Jim Farley was saying that somebody said to Jim Farley, Ford CEO, like, why can't you update your Bronco, infotainment that much faster? Why can't you make that software issue be fixed? He goes, we're not a software company. I have 5 guys who work with 11 vendors. So if we want to fix something, we have to go to the vendors. The vendors have to do it. Then we have to go through all the different vendors, make sure it doesn't screw anybody else's system up. And then we have to validate it with my 5 guys. And then we got to release the software update.
Well,
so
maybe
that's
that's
a software update tomorrow.
Maybe that's where GM maybe right now looks dumb trying to partner with just Google to create their running system. But maybe in the long run, that's where it might be better that they can pivot faster because there's less hands in the cookie jar.
Right. I mean, I know many brands are trying to partner up with Google or partner up with different things, because manufacturers want to get out of the infotainment system business.
Well, they
want the data. Sync. They want the data because they can sell the data, but they want to get out of the business.
Sync was initial partnership with Microsoft.
Yeah,
it was called Microsoft Sync when Ford first dumped that in their vehicles. And I mean, I think definitely, that's one of the pluses for a Tesla is the fact that their tech works great. They're a tech company that just builds cars, where the big three are car companies that tinker in tech.
Right. So, and the car companies spend billions in R&D on engines and transmissions and building the vehicle. They don't spend millions on software,
which is where you see Tesla, Tim, getting in all the truck. It's not doing truck things. It's not as capable, blah, blah, blah. A lot of pictures going around where it's stuck in snow and stuff like this. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? They're not a car company. They're a tech company that's toying in that segment. They didn't I never heard Tesla at one point go, we built the best truck ever. No, they just built a truck as best they could, but the tech is what they're selling, not the actual vehicle.
Yep.
I know you're not a Tesla guy, but
People
Anyways,
say that. I don't have a problem with Tesla. I don't know much about them, and when I've been in them, I'm not been impressed.
I like some of you. It's amazing. Me and you've done this for about 6 months now. Not every Saturday, but tried to be a little more regular. But I like some of your people have just like, what?
Yeah,
I
it's
like
too
when they
early. We're
just
not
find
drinking.
this.
Yeah, we're not doing this. Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
who says
I
we're
like
not?
that. No, this is a nice counter to to our evening stuff. So I like it.
Yeah, well, good. Well, Tim, what do you got coming up this week? I know you're looking kind of tired. You're looking.
Ugh,
He's got
uh,
TV to go watch. I don't know, snow to plow.
right? No. I had a good week in the gym this week, so I'm just kind of worn out. I
Nice.
slept really hard last night too. I was like, oh, no. I fly out Tucson, so I'm going to Lexus GX coming back, and then hopefully selling a Silverado sometime soon. I have another buyer supposed to call me today, and that's about it. It's not, it's January here. I'm gonna have an interesting time. I don't have a press car for a little while, so
What?
I'm gonna have an interesting time
New
making
model
some content.
turnover.
Yeah,
I have seen some journalist friends with 23 still. I'm like, either they held onto that video way too long, or I can't believe manufacturers are still giving out 23s.
yeah. I'm hoping the snow melts. I have to drive my 62 around. Enjoy driving them, but I'm not so much in the wintertime because two-wheel drive weighs nothing. And I have done sandbags and I have snow tires outside. And I'm sorry, there's no replacement for four-wheel drive.
I was
It's
going to
just
bring the Mustang out this week, and Kelly said, no way. No.
yeah. No, I mean it's a interesting drive, and I got a hill outside my house, so I have to. There's two ways to leave my little subdivision, and one's a hill and the other one's flat. So I end up driving around the other one because the other one
Yeah.
so I can actually drive.
Oh, I couldn't get my Mustang back in the driveway if I got it out. Only because I have a small incline, but it's got summer sport tires on it. I'm like,
Yeah,
you thought those tires on that CX-90 were bad. I would never get the driveway.
And I'm not really sure if the heater works. I have to investigate that. I'm not sure if it's getting. I fixed it, and then it broke again because again 1960s technology. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be driving that around, which is interesting. And maybe I'll do a snow driving video with it because people seem to like that kind of stuff. But it's slip and sliding days around here, so I'll probably just be home a lot. I really don't. I have Chicago. Then we talked about with doing the.
But that's 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll be home in between time. The Ram 1500 2025 Ram 1500 drive is in mid-February.
I'm excited to see your videos on those because, for one, Ram is notoriously hard to get in with their press drives. But
really
two, I'm excited because that brand they are flatlining right now. They need something to kind of bring some excitement back because I like the current generation of the 1500, but suddenly the market's just like it's just tanking.
I don't know what they're doing. I mean, the COO went over the Goodyear.
Yep,
got replaced by a Mexican. Not Mexican. He used to oversee the Mexican territory, the Southwest, the Latin America territory, whatever. Just an interesting looking guy. I can't wait to talk to him. He's probably brilliant. I mean, COOs and CEOs. They're really brilliant people. Really, there's a lot of interesting comments they make. So I can't wait to talk to him. And I'm really interested in the Ram. I wanted to buy one, and then the Tacoma came out, and so now I'm looking at, can I afford to buy two? And I don't really can't afford to buy two. So, and then the thing is, if I had two, I can't really drive them that often because I work from home to get the mileage on them. So it doesn't really make any sense. Yeah, Spaniard's probably a better way to say it. It's Latin America. I think you oversaw that area, whatever. So I'll be curious about that one. I'm really curious about that. So I'm looking forward to. It's supposed to be 50 some degrees next week sometime. Play some golf, drive sweet around. Nice. That's gonna be my thing. Do some comparison videos. People seem like love the comparison videos.
I think we're going to get nearly 70 next week, but it's all rain. So it's like you're damned if you do, then you can't go out and enjoy that. So
I saw the forecast for Tucson. It's 60 degrees and rain every day.
Yeah. If anybody needs a new Mustang, less than 3,000 miles on it, hit me up. It's time for that car to find a new home so I can buy the new Ranger Raptor. The dealerships don't really want me to trade in because of, I don't know why. But they would rather prefer me just bring cash back to them for purchasing, which I would prefer to do. And we sold the Gladiator to do the car, and maybe we can do the Mustang for the truck. Like you, I'd like to keep them all, but I can't. That's the problem with it. I got to experience the V8 Mustang. It was a lot of fun. Tim's not a car guy, so this is like over his head of what
I saw it. I thought it was kind of cool. I mean,
and you could get in and out of this one, Tim, compared to have you ever tried to get out of in the Supra?
The
new Supra?
No. Because you had that in Texas, and I
Yeah.
just no.
I would have loved to seen you try to, dude. That's the worst car ever. Between that and the Z, of like older gentlemen as I am,
I did get
tend to
in.
get
I
in that.
did get in the Z once, and it was funny. I got in the Z, and a Nissan rep sitting there, picked me up at the airport. We're doing a golf thing, whatever, in town, and he had the Z of his personal car. And driving along the interstate, and he goes, "Do you want to drive?" I said, "Nope." He's like, "He's like, you're the only person who's ever said no." I said, I'm not a sports car guy. Like I can drive it, but I'm not going to drive it as well as you want to. I'm down to love for it. It's a car. Like not my thing."
Well, so guys, there you go. That has been Midsize Trucks Live. I want to say thank you for Tim for joining along today and not completely overpowering the conversation as he would have done with TRD John. So it sounds like TRD John was interested in if we get time to do this next week or the next week on down the line. It might be a threesome. But the idea is I really do want to bring more journalists into this and let Tim just talk to him. And I'll just sit over here and watch, basically. But guys, in the comments, especially in the video comments, tag whoever you want us to talk to. We'll try to make that happen and see if we can get more people on here, because I think you guys always have questions, good questions about, hey, you talk about, hey, what's your opinion of this? I think having 3 or 4 more people in here would be a lot of fun, Tim. So I have a video this week coming up of I compare the Bronco Raptor to the Ranger Raptor, and the price difference is it's quite scary. So you're gonna want to watch that video for me, and past that, I'll just be out playing in the snow, Tim.
Yes, playing. I remember those days. Now I'm just like, please melt. Please melt.
No,
Please
100%. I've had a week of it. I'm done. So whether it be 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, it doesn't matter what you drive. And this one's always Tim to take us out. So what is it, Tim?
I know. I think, you know what? I'll see you down the road.
Later, guys.